right, greetings and salutations, everyone. My name is Andrew Kirchhoff, and welcome to our Saturday afternoon live stream for Week 7 of the 2024 fantasy football season. Of course, over the course of the next 2 hours, we're going to be talking all things related to fantasy football, whether that is starter sit questions, potential trade questions, waiver wire pickup questions, in which you can potentially add a player to give yourself a better opportunity in order to capture a victory in Week 7. Now, before we get into today's video, again, a reminder, before we get into today's live stream, a reminder, if you guys are going to send in a question via the live chat or super chat, be sure to include your scoring format, half PPR standard, full PPR. The more context you provide, the easier it'll be for me to answer the question. Do not forget that tomorrow morning, I will also be live streaming here on the channel for 4 hours consecutively, starting at 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Again, tomorrow morning, starting at 6:30 p.m. PST, there is a London game between the Jaguars and New England Patriots. So again, make sure that your lineups are going to be prepared for that and that we're all set, ready to go. Outside of that, let's get into answering questions. Before I do, we did get an update as the intro song was rolling that TJ Hawkinson is out and downgraded out for Week 7, and he will not be participating. Additionally, earlier today, and the reason why I currently have Devon Achane, besides the fact that, of course, Devon Achane is prepped for a pretty solid week against the Colts based on their lack of run-stopping ability, we did get a report earlier today from Diana Rossini of ESPN, or The Athletic. I mean, I guess she used to work for ESPN, but either way, she did say that Tua Tagovailoa is set to practice this week in hopes that he'll play against the Cardinals in Week 8. So Tua's back. For those of you who have shares of Achane, Tyreek Hill, and Waddle, get ready for next week because it's time to get some revenge on your league mates. All right, let's get into answering some questions, shall we? We begin with the first question of the day from Deco, who says, in a half PPR, Douglas or Eckler? I'd rather play Eckler, especially considering there is still not a 100% designation that Brian Robinson Jr. is going to go. It makes Eckler that much more of a solidified potential start in this circumstance, where Douglas finds his value is going to be in reception total. On the other end, we have Eckler, who's taken on the Carolina Panthers, who, in my opinion, again, I mean, that is one of the best, if not the best matchup you could possibly have all season long. Anytime you have a running back taking on the Carolina Panthers, they should always be in your starting lineup. So for those of you who have Eckler and or Brian Robinson Jr., probably should be playing them this week based on the volume of production other running backs have found against them, and considering how well the Washington Commanders' running attack has played over the course of this season thus far. Moving on to C. Crip, who says, I need a running back 2 in a full PPR. We have James Conner, Josh Jacobs, Kareem Hunt, and Tank Bigsby. Okay, so out of the available, if by the time we get to tomorrow morning, around 5:30 a.m. PST, so like an hour before that London game starts, if we're given a designation that ETN is not going to be active, at that point, I'd feel very comfortable playing Tank Bigsby as your RB2. Now, if we do not get that designation, and it's going to just be a straightforward ETN's playing, and we don't know what the heck this backfield's going to look like, at that point, I'm just going to pivot myself in the direction of playing, let's see here, who do I have ranked the highest? This is a full PPR league, right? Okay, so let's go full PPR. As of right now, it would be Josh Jacobs, who would be the highest ranked player of the available that you have mentioned there between Connor and Hunt. Thank you, C-Crip. Chris Allin sends in a question, says, in a PPR, start 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, and 1 singular flex out of the following. We have Jefferson, Addison, who just got boosts in terms of their overall potential for production, mainly because, again, TJ Hawkinson just about 5 minutes ago designated as out going against the Detroit Lions, his former team. You also have Evans, Flowers. Evans should be expected to play on Monday, so I'm not really too worried about him. Again, when you're a veteran, you've been in the league for 10 years, you don't have to practice for the whole week, and I still expect you to ball out on Sunday. Let's see here. You have Leggett, Bigsby, Etienne, Montgomery, Hunt, Chandler, and Najee Harris. Okay, so of the available that you have, the 2 running backs that I'm going to suggest you go with is Montgomery, most likely, with Hunt. Mainly because I think that by the time we get to tomorrow morning, ETN is going to somehow miraculously be available and active, which is going to hurt the Bigsby shares. So unless we get a different, turnout as of tomorrow, I mean, I'd like to play Montgomery with Bigsby if ETN is out, but if ETN is not out, you go Montgomery and Hunt. Now, as for your next part of your team in terms of wide receiver, Jefferson and Flowers would be the 1-2 at wide receiver, and then within the flex position, I'm most likely playing Evans there. I could justify playing Addison, but I'd prefer to play Evans. Thank you, Chris Allin. Appreciate it. Abide Los Angeles sends in a question. Says, Cooper or Chubb off waivers? I think it's a matter of what your team requires. Do you need the... Okay, so if you're looking at your roster as it currently sits and you're thinking, okay, do I want Amari Cooper or Nick Chubb? I prefer to have Amari Cooper on my team because I think that he provides a little bit more upside, especially if you're playing in any sort of PPR format. Additionally, the team that he's associated with provides a lot of potential for upside and success for touchdowns and etc. in comparison to what Chubb has to deal with, with Deshaun Watson and all those guys over there. So I'd rather have Amari Cooper if I had to just choose blindly and there was no, one way or the other because I don't have running back depth or I don't have wide receiver depth. If we're just even across the board, Cooper would be the one that I prefer going forward. Thank you. James sends in a question. It says full PPR, Addison or Brian Thomas Jr. I have Evan as my tight end. Okay, Evan Ingram, got it. So between the two of them, let me see where I have them ranked in terms of separation. So BTJ sits there, and Jordan Addison is... He's going to be... he's relatively close. I wouldn't say that he's completely out of the conversation. Now that Hawkinson's out, I can justify it. If it's my team, though, I'm probably just going to roll with BTJ in this circumstance. But if you wanted to... Well, honestly, at this point, Addison probably scores a touchdown in that game if I had to guess. Unless Jefferson does all the damage. I'll probably have to recalibrate. I'm thinking I probably still stick with BTJ because I trust his target volume in comparison to Addison. But I think Addison will be relatively close behind him. Maybe like 2 or 3 ranks behind him by the time I get to tomorrow morning. Thank you, James. Zolbu sends in a question. Zolbu, there was nothing attached. Make sure that it's in the live chat. I'll get to it in just a moment. Adam Amar sends in a question. Thank you, Adam. Adam says, B-Rob as my RB1 rest of the season. Is JJ for Brown crazy? I have Jalen Hurts. I don't think JJ for Brown is specifically crazy. I think JJ provides just a little bit more potential for upside, but ultimately, I don't think that the separation between the two is going to be significant in terms of points scored over the course of the season, rest of the way. So if you want to make that swap, I don't have an issue with it. But as for your RB1 being Brian Robinson rest of the season, he's played like an RB1, so why wouldn't we just treat him as that going forward? David Dooley sends in a question, says in a half PPR, play 2, Chase Brown, Jaden Reed, Mike Evans. Okay, so in a half PPR going into this week, if it was my team, I'd play Jaden Reed and I'd play Chase Brown, and I take no risk with Evans on Monday. Thank you. John War says questions in the chat. Thank you, John. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's find John and Zolbu's question. Let's see here. Control F, Zolbu. Zolbu says pick 2 in a full PPR. Ramondre Stevenson, who's questionable, but he did say he's going to play tomorrow. Gibson, Zach Moss, Devin Singletary, and Algier. Okay, so considering Ramondre Stevenson from his own mouth said, I'm going to play on Sunday, I would believe him and I'll take his word on the matter, and I would start Ramondre Stevenson as the number 1. Now, as for the number 2 of the available running backs you have, at that point, I'd probably pivot myself in the direction of most likely playing Singletary. I don't do so confidently, but again, of the alternative options you have, he would be the best. Moving on to John War's question. Let's see if I can find your question, John. John War. John says, in a 10-team PPR, we have 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, and 2 flex to start. Who do I start at my RB2, my last flex spot? My RBs are Saquon as my number 1. We have Mason, Najee, Gibson, Tracy. Okay, so I'm not going to play Tracy or Gibson in comparison to the alternatives. As for Mason or Najee Harris, I'd probably lean towards playing Najee Harris in that circumstance. Moving on, we had a question. Let's see here. Wide receiver, you have J-Jet, you have Higgins, you have Marvin Harrison, Deontay Johnson, and Juju. Okay. So between those 3 options in the flex, I'd like to play Deontay Johnson. If by tomorrow he is not available to play because he's out due to an injury, then obviously you'd play Juju and Marvin Harrison in the flex accordingly. Thank you. All right, moving on to a question that came in from JT. Thank you, JT. Appreciate it. JT says the following. In a half PPR, my wide receivers are Chase and Lamb, but Lamb is on bye. Do I start Ladd or Douglas? I'd prefer to play... Sorry, that's not Douglas. That's Dobbs. I have Douglas on the brain because I want to play him in every league. Between Ladd McConkey and Romeo Dobbs, let me go check out the injury report for Green Bay just to see what Wicks' status is as of this week. Tavion Wicks limited practice the whole week. He'll probably end up playing. So at that point, if it's me, I'd probably play Ladd McConkey in that scenario. As for your, let's see here, you said you're leaning Dobbs because you have Love, okay? Or should I trade Waddle for Devontae Smith? Okay, so there's a lot of questions there. So I'd prefer to play Ladd over Romeo Dobbs. I understand that you have Love and you might want to stack the two, but I'm just looking to try to play the best overall players potentially possible in this circumstance, so that's the direction I'm leaning in. Now, as for your next question as to whether or not you should trade Waddle for Devontae Smith, I'd trade Waddle for Devontae Smith happily. Yeah, that sounds good to me. Thank you. Michael sends in a question. Michael Wynn says, bench 1.5 PPR, Douglas, McLeod, or ETN. If ETN plays tomorrow, he's in my lineup, and I'm benching McLeod. Thank you. And obviously, you'd play Douglas as well in that game. Captain sends in a question, says, Garrett Wilson or Devontae Smith have to sit one this week. I currently have Garrett Wilson ranked higher than Devontae Adams. Sorry, not Devontae Smith. I currently have Garrett Wilson ranked higher than Devontae Adams and Devontae Smith, in fact. So both of them. Thank you, Captain. Amir says, good afternoon, Andrew. Hope all is well. It is. Thank you, Amir. Says, in a full PPR, pick 4 between Bigsby, Hunt, Achane, Marvin Harrison, and Chase Brown. Cool. So of the available that we have here, Bigsby only ever gets the start tomorrow if, in fact, ETN is inactive. Because otherwise, I'd feel a little bit too, I wouldn't feel as confident in his overall workload of opportunity. Therefore, if that is designated and ETN plays tomorrow, you are just playing Hunt, HN, Marvin Harrison, and Chase Brown. Now, if in fact ETN is out, the odd man outside of that would be probably, it's a full PPR. It probably ends up being, I'd play HN, I'd play Chase Brown, if I was my team, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, Amir, I play all 4 running backs if Bigsby doesn't have ETN, and I'd bench Marvin Harrison on Monday. Thank you. Tan Fam sends in a question, says, PPR, I have a 1-5 record in my flex, so I play Evans, Kupp, or Wan'Dale Robinson. So this is the way that I would approach it based on the upcoming schedule for week 7. So Kupp and the Rams don't play until the afternoon window of games. So you won't know whether or not he is active until 1 p.m. or more like 12:30 p.m. PST in the afternoon, considering they play in Los Angeles. The same thing kind of leans you in the direction of potentially just rolling with either Kupp or Mike Evans, primarily because Wan'Dale Robinson plays at 10 a.m. on Sunday morning, PST. Therefore, you would ignore the potential of playing Wan'Dale Robinson. You'd play Kupp if he plays in the afternoon on Sunday, and if he does not play, then you would pivot to playing Evans. So it's either Kupp or Evans in my suggestion here, Tan Fam. Thank you. Roy Shaver sends in a question. Says, in a half PPR, Najee or Sermon, I'd rather play Najee Harris. Thank you. Marion Garcia sends in a question. Says, in a full PPR, trade question, Jacobs and JMO for Brian Robinson Jr. and Debo. Yeah, I will take the Debo and Brian Robinson Jr. side for the rest of season. Thank you, Marion. Appreciate it. That would be a great trade. Adam Amar sends in a question. Says, Brooks and Jaden Reed. Sorry. I'm going to assume that... Jaden Daniels, excuse me. For Hurts and Mason, I have Brian Robinson. Okay, so I don't know if I'm trading for Mason at the moment unless I have Christian McCaffrey. So I think I'd probably just keep the Brooks and Jaden Daniels side of this overall conversation. Thank you. AP sends in a question. Says, full PPR, flex 1, Mason, JMO, Tracy, Juju, HN, McConkey. Okay, so of the available, a lot of good options. We can literally only flex one of them. I'm not really interested in flexing Jordan Mason or Tracy or McConkey out of the group. So it's either between JMO, Juju, and HN. Between those 3, HN doesn't really get much receiving upside in the absence of Tua, so he would be the odd man out there. So then we're basically just talking either JMO or Juju. In a full PPR, I'd probably lean in the direction of playing Juju Smith-Schuster. If he's, let me see, when do they play tomorrow? The Chiefs play at night, so I'm going to assume that he does end up playing, and that's the direction I'd go in. So yeah, I'd probably just suggest Juju. JMO is the close second, though, like very close. Probably in his back pocket by tomorrow's rankings. Dragon Slayer sends in a question. Says, in a PPR, start Chubb or Dobbins. I'd much rather play Dobbins. In fact, Dobbins is my top 10 running back. Like he's expected to dominate against Arizona's terrible run-stop defense. So yeah, Dobbins is for sure to play. Seth sends in a question. Says, in a full PPR, pick 1 between McLaurin, Wilson, or Marvin Harrison Jr. Between those 3, I'm playing McLaurin against the Carolina Panthers. Thank you. We move on to Easy E, who says, in a half PPR, Mooney or Chase Brown in the flex. I'd much rather play Chase Brown. Thank you. Stephen Drake says, hey, bro, in a half PPR, I need 1, Mason, Hunt, or Achane. Between the 3 of them, I have them ranked in the following order. I have Achane number 1, Hunt number 2, Mason number 3.5 PPR. Thank you. Flotation Swag says, I sent you something on X. Okay, let's check it out. Let's go over to my phone. Let's see, what do we have here? Notifications. Boom. Okay, looking at the, let's see here, question. It says, trade ETN for Najee. Someone offered. Yeah, let's do that. I have no issue with that at all. I'll take Najee rest season. I'm left side of the PPR. Cool. Tracy and Singletary thought. Okay, so let's look at your team, right? So you have Rodgers and Jalen Hurts starting this week in the Superflex. You have Austin Eckler and you have Tracy going. I don't know about Tracy. That's an interesting one. Amari Cooper, Darnell Mooney, Tyler Lockett, Sam Laporta, Xavier Legette, 49ers defense. Only thing that is on your bench, I'm curious why you're not playing Devontae Adams. That doesn't make any sense to me. So Devontae Adams would start over Lockett, and it's not even close. And then additionally, Would you have a tight end, Laporta? You're fine with that. Yeah, so basically, if I was in your position right now, I'd make the move. I'd get Najee Harris. I'd play him over Tracy. I'd leave Tracy and Singletary on the bench until I figure out what is going to transpire with that backfield going forward. Then I'd subsequently, bench Lockett and end up playing Devontae Adams this weekend. That's the only suggestions I have to make. Otherwise, the rest of the lineup looks good to go. Flotation. Thank you. Roy Shaver sends in a follow-up. Says Najee or Sermon and Kirk or Waddle. Got it. So as of this week, again, Najee Harris is preferred over Sermon in a half PPR. Additionally, I prefer Kirk over Waddle. Again, I do not trust Waddle unless Tua Tagovailoa is at quarterback, and luckily he comes back next week. Moving on to Jorge Perez, who says, full PPR, flex, pick one, Mason, Chase Brown, Hunt, or Tracy. All right, out of those available, Chase Brown would be the starter. Thank you. Travis Knott sends in a question. Says, if Brian Robinson is out, start Connor, Christian Watson, or Tank Bigsby. Okay, so there's a lot of contingencies here, right? So if Brian Robinson Jr. is out, you won't know that he is going to be out until he plays. And when exactly does he play? Well, he plays in the afternoon, 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 1:05 exactly. So in the Eastern side, depending on where you guys live, that could be 4:05 p.m. So the issue is that you won't know whether or not Brian Robinson is out until the afternoon slate. So your only pivoting option is actually James Conner. So you'd either play Brian Robinson or James Conner on Monday night. Tank Bigsby and Watson are not available options in this overall circumstance. Thank you. Darius Cobb sends in a question. Says in a PPR, start 2, flex 1. Got it. So we're picking 3 of the 4, Darius. Got it. So you have Tank. Okay, now here's my question. Who the heck is Tank? Is it Tank Dell or is it Tank Bigsby? Because that makes a huge difference in the overall conversation. And then I'm going to assume, because everybody in this question is like, you have Tank, you have Connor, you have Walker, you have Robinson. I'm going to assume they're all running backs. So hopefully my assumption is correct. So if it's Tank Bigsby, James Conner, Kenneth Walker, and Brian Robinson. Kenneth Walker and Brian Robinson. Okay, so this is the way I go about it. Let me think about this really quickly, because there's a strategy involved that has to require a couple available parts for your team in order for it to succeed. So hear me out. You can start 2 at the running back position and flex 1. So this week, you are going to start Kenneth Walker as an RB. If by tomorrow morning, Etienne is out, then you would also, alongside of him, start Tank Bigsby at running back. Then you would either flex Brian Robinson Jr. or James Conner, depending on Brian Robinson Jr.'s availability. You have the flexible option there with the pivoting onto the Monday night game. Now, if in fact Etienne is active tomorrow, then at that point, you would have Walker and Brian Robinson. You would have Walker and Connor as your starting running backs, and then leave Brian Robinson within your flex. If Brian Robinson is not active, at that point, you would move him to your IR spot, and you would pick up Jeremy McNichols from the Washington Commanders, and you would start him in your flex, Darius. Thank you. Bruce Cowdrey sends in a question, says, ideas for RB2 or flex in a full PPR tournament. Okay. Chase Brown, Madison, Sermon, Hunt, or Eckler. I mean, look, I think you've got a lot of incredible options. If it's my team going into this weekend, I'm going to play most likely Chase Brown and Eckler. Yeah, that's probably the 2 that I roll with in a full PPR format as of right now. Chase Brown and Eckler. The close third would be Kareem Hunt. Thank you, Bruce. Prankster's Nightmare sends in a question. Says in a full PPR, flex 1, okay, Michael Pittman Jr., Rachaad White, Zach Moss, or Jalen Waddle. Out of those available, I'm playing Michael Pittman Jr. Yeah, I cannot trust Rachaad White, and I don't really know what kind of production or opportunity share he's going to be able to receive in this overall backfield. Zach Moss, I think his days are over, and Waddle, again, isn't valuable until next week, and of course, in the return of Tua Tagovailoa. So Michael Pittman would be the suggestion in this circumstance. Moving on to Flotation, says trade ETN for Najee. Yeah, we'll take it. Again, I'm perfectly comfortable doing so. I think Najee is on his incline of overall productive weeks, like he has shown over the course of the last 2 seasons. As soon as he gets to week 6, week 7, that's where he takes off. Jacob03 sends in a question, says, who should I flex? Dell, Ramondre, Amari, or Bucky Irving in a standard? If it's my team, I probably end up... It's a little bit tough because, again, the standard format makes it a little bit less enticing to potentially play one of those running backs. So it's between Dell and Ramondre for me. I'd prefer to play Dell in this circumstance. I think Ramondre coming off of the injury, again, there's always a possibility of re-aggravation. And considering you have a alternative option that is as good, if not better, I'd stick with Dell in that circumstance. Thank you. Luis Castillo sends in a question. Thank you, Luis. Says, in a 10-team standard format, we have to start 2 wide receivers, 1 running back, and 1 flex. I have Dell, Pickens, Mooney, Dobbs, Worthy, Hunt, Mason, Etienne, Andrews. In for Komet, Otton is on the wire. Okay, so you didn't mention anything about starting a tight end. You said 2 wide receivers, 1 running back, 1 flex. So I don't know if those tight ends have their own starting position or if they have to potentially play in the flex. If that's an alternative option, I'm not sure. Either way. So let's see here. As for your 2 wide receivers, I think it's pretty simple from my perspective. I would play Dell alongside of Mooney. As for your singular running back, I'm going to roll with Kareem Hunt. As for your flex this week, in a standard scoring format, I'm kind of forced to play Mason. So that's the direction I go in. If you do additionally have a tight end spot, I'd probably play Otton over Andrews this week if you could. But considering it's a standard format, 0 points per reception, I think you're better off just playing Mark Andrews because he truly does have more touchdown upside in comparison. Jay sends in a question, says, flex 1 in a full PPR. Connor, Bigsby, Pickens, or Downs? Really, I'm not going to play either of the 2 either of the 2 wide receivers based on their quarterback play. Again, we're going to have to wait and see what Russell Wilson's capable of accomplishing within that offense. It's not to say that Russell Wilson cannot take on a matchup like the Jets. You go back to last season, as a member of the Denver Broncos, he played well, had a 2-touchdown game against the Jets, and was quite competitive. So Pickens should have himself a little bit more upside. Downs with, Anthony Richardson, that's a to-be-determined kind of factor. So it's really a matter of just Connor or Bigsby in my perspective here, Jay. If Etienne is out tomorrow morning, we play Bigsby. If he's not, then we play Connor on Monday night. Thank you. Michael Barton sends in a question. Says, in a PPR, start 2 running backs. We have Mostert, Mason. Okay. Scared he might get hit and then be out. Yeah, that's always a possibility. I mean, that's the risk you inherently have to take. And then you have Dobbins. Okay, cool. So, and then it says, would you play Sermon over Mason or Gibbs in a PPR? Okay, so really quickly, let's answer the first question. Mostert, Mason, and Dobbins. I'm going to play Mason and Dobbins. As for the next question, would I play Sermon over Mason or Gibbs? The answer is no. And then the next question after that is Juju or Tank Dell. I'd rather play Tank Dell. Thank you. Cardinal sends in a question. Says, Ayuk plus Montgomery or Achane plus CeeDee Lamb? As of rest of season, I'd rather have the Achane plus CeeDee Lamb combination. Thank you very much. Moving on to Jesus UCSB, who says, in a must-win versus the first-place team, do I keep playing Mahomes, who has left, or Sam Darnold? Yes, I would play Sam Darnold happily. By tomorrow morning, he'll probably be in my top 6 probably my top 6 quarterbacks. I've moved him up quite a bit. I think it's going to be a shootout tomorrow, so that's the direction that I'm leaning in as of right now. Jesus, thank you. Not Lucid sends in a question, says PPR, Bigsby or Addison? I'd only ever play Bigsby ahead of Addison if Etienne is out tomorrow. If he's not out, then you pivot to playing Addison in the morning slate against Detroit. Thank you. Michael Barton sends up a follow-up and says, pick 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, and 2 flexes between the following in a PPR. Terry, Deontay, Kyron Williams, Jacobs, Pollard, Hunt, Garrett Wilson, Juju, and Douglas. Cool. So of the available that you have, your starting 2 running backs would be Kyron Williams and Tony Pollard. Then additionally after that, your 2 starting wide receivers would be, looking at the group, Terry McLaurin and Deontay Johnson, assuming Deontay Johnson's playing. Now, let me see when the Jets play, just so I have a pivoting option. Yeah, you do have a pivoting option. So this will be my suggestion. As for your 2 wide receivers, you want to play Terry and Deontay. If, in fact, we're in a scenario in which Deontay Johnson is inactive, you would then plug in Garrett Wilson in his position as that wide receiver too. And then your 2 flex options for this week are going to probably be, let me see here. In a full PPR, I probably end up rolling with, if that's pretty tough. I probably end up rolling if you have okay. So assuming everybody's healthy, it would be Kyron, Pollard, Terry, Deontay, Garrett, and Juju. That would be the start for this week, Michael. Assuming everyone's healthy. Otherwise, pivoting options would pivot. Cam Kozel sends in a question. Says, in a full PPR, 2 wide receivers and 1 flex, start 3. Okay. We have Tyreek, we have Addison, we have J-Mo, we have McLaurin, we have Marvin Harrison, and we have Ayuk. Very well. So McLaurin's the auto wide receiver start. Alongside of him, I'm pretty comfortable rolling with, if Marvin Harrison's a full go, I probably, do I play him over these alternative options? Yeah, so if it's my team, I probably lean in the direction of going like McLaurin, Tyreek, Marvin Harrison. If you're worried about Marvin and you don't want to roll with him, then you would just play Addison instead. Thank you. Moving on to Ray C, who sends in a question, who says, full PPR, JJ Higgins, Tank, and Deontay Johnson, pick 3. Yeah, as of right now, considering the Let's see here. What is the morning slate? So there's that. Yeah. Okay. So considering Deontay Johnson plays in the afternoon, you're playing all three alternative options because you don't have a pivoting. So in this circumstance, you kind of just are forced to. I mean, it's not a bad thing to be forced to play these three, but you're going to play Higgins, JJ, and Tank Dell because Deontay plays in the afternoon slate and you won't have a pivoting option in case he's not active. So yeah, that's the direction I go in. And then or play 4 and Mason is out. If Deontay Johnson's active in the afternoon, I would play him over Mason in a full PPR at the flex. Ray, thank you. So basically, we're looking to play all 4 wide receivers. If Deontay's out, then you play Mason. Thank you. Adam Amar says, thoughts on Mason, Brooks, and Chubb rest of season? I think it's pretty simple. Mason disappears when McCaffrey comes back, whenever that ends up being. Again, I'm assuming that's probably like the second week of November. Then we have Chubb, who again should be the premier starter for the rest of the season. As to what he'll be, again, I assume that I'm going to rank him as a low-end RB2 for the remainder of the year. Brooks isn't going to return until week 9 or 10, which again, at that point, we're going to have to wait and see what we get out of him because, again, he's still a rookie and we haven't seen him play in the league. Justin sends in a question, says, I got offered a trade to get my Cup and Olave for Mixon. Thoughts? Full PPR. I'm stacked a wide receiver, but I need a running back. I mean, you'd have to be omega stacked a wide receiver to be getting Mixon only in exchange. Like, I would be wanting significantly more in exchange for Cup and Olave. Now, I don't know what the context of your team is. I'd take your word on the idea that you're stacked at wide receiver. I'd assume that maybe you have 4 alternative other starters, but I think you're giving up too much because, again, once Cup is back healthy, same thing with Olave. Olave will no longer have Rashid Shaheed. He is out for the season. I think you're giving up too much. Now, again, if you have nothing else and no alternatives and no one wants to give you more, then so be it. And you can't patiently wait for another week for, Olave and Cup to return at a full healthy capacity. Then I guess you take this. But ultimately, I don't love it. It's not something that I would look forward to. Unless, again, you were desperate and you need a running back and you have like a 1-5 record and you need to somehow win, Aaron Moreno sends in a question, says, take a gamble and start Drake May over Kyler. You can. I'm not going to suggest it, but you certainly can. Listen, again, if I don't believe it, I'm not going to throw it into the mix. You know what I mean? So I'm not too keen on that. Andrew Clark sends in a question, says, Achane, Kareem Hunt, Chase Brown, Derrick Henry, Deontay Johnson, Tyreek Hill, Juju, Christian Kirk, Tank Dell, Amari Cooper, Sam Laporta, Tucker Kraft. 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, 1 tight end. In a full PPR, should I stash Tua? I have Jaden Daniels, Jalen Wright, and what is that, Justice Hill? Yeah, I would drop Justice Hill and I'd pick up Tua. That's fine by me. If so, who would you drop? Yeah, that would be Justice Hill who gets the axe. Now, as for your starting lineup for this week, the 2 running backs that I start out of the available would be Derrick Henry and Chase Brown. As for who we play at wide receiver, that would be Deontay Johnson, Tyreek Hill, and Tank Dell. If Deontay Johnson cannot go in the afternoon, you pivot to playing Juju. That being said, you're also in need of, let's see here, 2 wide receiver, 1 tight end. Okay, so then we need 1 tight end in this circumstance, which would be Laporta. Cool. Thank you very much, Andrew Clark. Appreciate it. Gildan Warrior sends in a question, says, should I trade Stevenson, New England, for Ayuk in a full PPR? Yes, you absolutely should, and you should do it now before anybody changes their mind on that. All right, X Franklin sends in a question, says, full PPR, someone dropped Kyler Murray. Should I pick him up? I have Stroud, Mayfield, pick 2. Yeah, honestly, I'd keep Stroud and Mayfield. I don't think you need Murray the rest of the season. And then RB pick 2, Mason, Hubbard, and Gibbs. I'm playing Hubbard and Gibbs this week. Thank you. Alrighty. Again, for those of you who are joining us this afternoon, welcome. Hope you guys are doing well. We've been here for the last 30 minutes answering questions, and we'll be here for the next hour and a half answering questions. Do not forget, again, if you guys are going to send in a question, make sure that you include your scoring format, and of course, make sure that the question is attached to the super. I greatly appreciate it. Again, tomorrow morning, I'll be live starting at 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time here on the channel, so if you guys have any questions regarding that, I will be here tomorrow morning answering those questions, getting everything ready to go. Additionally, if you guys want to get my rankings every single Sunday morning for the remainder of the season, you would do it via Underdog. Again, you can sign up today using code Andrew. Make that first time deposit, minimum of $10. Potentially tail some of my overall picks going into this weekend. Get my rankings sent to you every Sunday for the remainder of the season. Or if you're not eligible in that circumstance, you can always check out the Patreon rankings available there with unlimited questions answered. Thank you. All right, so the next question after Gildan Warrior was Daniel Barnes. Daniel says, in a full PPR, flex Mason, Marvin Harrison, or Chubb. I'm going to play Marvin Harrison Jr. there. Thank you. Moving on to the Professor, who says full PPR start to Aaron Jones, Devon Achane, or my YouTube just crashed, and I lost the question. I'm going back right now. Let's go to fan funding. Let's see here. Where the heck is it? So, Professor says Achane, Jacobs, or Aaron Jones. I'm going to play Achane and Jacobs there. I'm benching Aaron Jones this week. Thank you. Adam Amar says, is Kyron no doubt Rams RB1 rest of seat? Yes. Unless Kyron gets injured, why would they replace him? They have no incentive to replace him. Thank you. Josh sends in a question, says pick 3. Full PPR, Godwin, St. Brown, Cooper, London. Yeah, it's going to be St. Brown, London, and Godwin as my 3 starts. Clearly and easily. Thank you, Josh. Joe Lozano says, in a full PPR, Tank Dell or Deontay Johnson. Considering Tank Dell plays before Deontay Johnson and his questionable nature, you're going to play Tank Dell in that scenario. As for your next question, Ramondre Stevenson, Brian Robinson, or Trey Sermon. We're playing Brian Robinson there. If, in fact, he is not active and available, then you would drop Trey Sermon. And let me see here. Actually, let me look up Control-Shift-T. Let's see here. Week 7. Colts play in the morning. Okay. So this will be the suggestion. You're trying to play Brian Robinson. If he doesn't play, you drop Trey Sermon and you pick up Jeremy McNichols and you play him instead of Brian Robinson. Thank you. As for your second league question, either Bigsby, Travis Etienne, or Ramondre Stevenson, you would play Ramondre unless Travis Etienne is out, in which you would then play Bigsby. Thank you. Maximus sends in a question. Says Trey Sermon or Tracy? I'm playing Trey Sermon this week. Thank you. Moving on to the next question you had. Marvin Harrison or Juju? In a full PPR, I'd probably lean towards playing Juju. In a half, I'll lean towards Marvin. Oh, it's a standard league? Then yes, we'll just play Marvin there. Thank you. Tim Power sends in a question. Says, I'm in a running back nightmare. Which 2 should I play out of my scraps at running back? Singletary, Madison, Harris, and Chandler. I don't think you're in a bad position, to be honest. If I was sitting in your position, I'd be playing Harris and probably Singletary this week. Those would be the 2. If you're worried about Singletary, then you just play Madison. But Madison has Zamir White returning, which is a little bit worrisome. So yeah, I'm leaning towards playing Najee Harris and Devin Singletary there. Let's see here. KJ Sticks sends in a question. Says, in a full PPR, we have 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, and a flex. We have the available options. Deontay, BTJ, JSN, Pittman. Okay, so of those 4 wide receivers, I'm going to play Deontay Johnson and BTJ if, in fact, available. Now, again, NFL Week 7, you guys got to remember there's always the potential that you might have to pivot. So, considering the Seattle Seahawks play in the morning in Atlanta tomorrow morning, you will not be able to potentially pivot to JSN. Can you pivot to Pittman? You cannot pivot to Pittman. So, you have quite literally waiver pivoting options. So this will be my suggestion, KJ Sticks. We want to play Deontay Johnson and BTJ. If, in fact, Deontay Johnson by the afternoon is inactive, you would then put him on your IR spot and you would pick up Leggett and play him instead. Now, moving on to the next half of your overall question, running back, Connor, Stevenson, Etienne, Bucky, Sermon. Between those available options, I would probably feel I'm most inclined to play Connor and Stevenson between the bunch. And then as for your singular flex, as to who I would roll with, it's going to be JSN. Thank you. All right, moving on. We had a question from Andrew Clark who says, I forgot. I also have a flex for the question. Okay, let me go back up, Andrew. Let me see what you got. Let's see here. So you have 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, 1 tight end, and then you have a flex. Okay, so you got a lot of noise here. So we have Chase Brown and Derrick Henry as your starting running backs. Deontay Johnson alongside of Tyreek Hill. Sorry, it would be Deontay Johnson alongside of Tank Dell as your wide receivers and Tyreek Hill. So that'd be 3. And then you're flexing Juju. And then, of course, you're playing Laporta in your tight end. Thank you. All right, moving on. We had a question that came in from Not Lucid. Follow-up says, would you trade Dobbins for Amari? Nope, I would not. Not interested. I have Josh Allen as my other. Nope, I'm chilling. Dude, you don't have enough running back depth to sustain it. Not even close. You need to have Dobbins. Rashad White, Bigsby, and Sermon and Brooks are not reliable enough at the current moment. You would leave yourself out to dry, and it would really hurt you in the long run, in my opinion. So I'd keep Dobbins in this scenario. Jared sends in a question. Says, Douglas, Bigsby, Ayuk, Mooney in a full PPR. In a full PPR as of this week, again, I would only ever play Bigsby if Etienne is out tomorrow. If he is not out tomorrow, at that point, I'm just going to probably position myself to play. I'm probably going to play Douglas there, to be honest, in a full PPR. Thank you. Moving on to Failure's No Option, who says flex full PPR. BTJ, Marvin Harrison, Juju Mason. Out of those available options, I'm playing BTJ. Thank you. X Hassan says in a full PPR, trade Kareem Hunt and JSN for Amari Cooper. I'm okay with it if you can sustain losing Kareem Hunt and you don't have Isaiah Pacheco on roster. Thank you. Josh sends in a question, says in a full PPR, Jacobs or Stevenson? Thank you. Yes, I'm playing Jacobs this week. Thank you. Kobe sends in a question, says, what bet in your video do you prefer more? What bet in my video would I prefer more? Okay, hold up. Let me go look at the bets that I made. Let's see here. If I go to live pick'ems. Okay, so let me. Okay. Here we go. So I'm gonna go ahead and stream it onto the screen just so that we're aware as to what the heck is going on. So let me travel over to Underdog, Kobe. So this is what I'm suggesting at the moment. Okay. So these are the two bets that I made in my video the other day, right? These two specific bets. Okay. So the two that or if I was gonna pick one to prefer, I'd actually change it completely. What I would prefer to do is take Kyren Williams and Derrick Henry and just put them in a two-man slip. Now, the overall payout is not great because, again, those are expected outcomes. But if you were to add a third leg to it, it would just be like Derrick Henry, Kyren Williams, and Travis Kelce. Those are my three most confident of the group that I would feel like if I had to get a win, those are the three that I'd go with. Otherwise, I'm just going with Kyren and Derrick Henry and just letting it roll. Outside of these potential picks, I did put in another pick last night. Austin Eckler going higher than 8.35 half PPR fantasy points, and Malik Neighbors going higher than 6.5 receptions, 50 for 135. Again, I don't think that's bad at all. I think that's actually pretty solid. So those are a couple of the overall adventures that we've made via Underdog. If you guys are interested to potentially follow, you can do so. Thank you. All right, let's see here. Drew Wright says a half PPR question. Okay, let's see here, Drew. What do we have available? Let me actually bring this back down so that's not in my way. Okay. Njoku, Laporta, or Juju for tight end and flex. Cool. As of right now, Laporta is your starting tight end and Juju is your flex. Thank you, Drew Wright. Appreciate it. All right, let's see here. Meadow of Hay sends it a question. Says in a half PPR, one running back and one flex from Mason, Singletary, Tracy, Algier, Waddle, Shakir, Tracy, Ridley, Wicks. Okay, so we have a bunch of options. Mason is your RB. There's no better option that you currently have. And then the alternative to that is then playing a wide receiver in your flex because I'm not interested in playing Singletary, Tracy, or Algier. So it's either Waddle, Shakir, Ridley, or Wicks. And in that current scenario, I'm playing Shakir in your flex. Thank you. And it also says, also, who is most droppable? I need a kicker. As of right now, the most droppable theoretically would be Dontavion Wicks. Thank you. Moving on to a question that came in from Tony Wick. Tony says, in a PPR trade offer, Jordan Mason / BTJ for JJ and ETN. Yes, I will take the JJ and ETN side of that trade 11 times out of 10 immediately. Thank you. Josh sends in a follow-up, says, I traded Adams for Cooper because I have Allen. Is that a bad trade? I think it's a bad trade, ultimately, yes. I don't love it at all. Again, you got to remember, I know that Devontae Adams is up there in age, but so is Amari Cooper. And additionally, the difference between Cooper and Adams is that Adams has played with Aaron Rodgers for his entire career. Cooper's only just getting into this offense, only now learning it. It's a little bit of a more difficult kind of transitioning process to becoming like the number one of that offense and building that rapport, which again, if you don't have all of offseason to build it, it's tough. So as of right now, yes, I do believe that Adams is the better option than Amari Cooper rest of the season. God's Gang sends in a question, says, deep at wide receiver, drop Worthy for Singletary. That's cool with me. I don't have an issue with that. Sandy O sends in a question, says PPR. Pick two, Algier, Brian Robinson, Gibson, Singletary, White. Okay, so if you have to pick two of those potential running backs, Brian Robinson's number one, and most likely Singletary's number two. White is like number three, Algier's 4, Gibson 5. As for your next question, Stroud or Darnold this week, I have Darnold ahead of Stroud. As for the next question after that, PPR, need a flex between Bigsby, Moss, Tracy. Out of those three, I'm playing Bigsby regardless of any of the scenarios. Thank you. DTN Rom 88 says Baker or Kyler rest of the season. As of right now, Baker's outperforming him pretty easily, so I probably lean in that direction based on the fact that I don't think that offense is going away anytime soon. Kyle Singer says PPR, pick one, Love or Cousins. I'd rather play Jordan Love. Again, 10 consecutive games of 2 or more touchdowns. Pretty strong output there. Pick one for the flex, Chubb, Dobbs, or Shakir. In a full PPR scoring format, that's actually a really tough one. Let me check where I had them on Thursday, and then I can kind of cross-reference as to the adjustments I've made in rankings. So as of right now, On Thursday, I had Nick Chubb like a couple spots ahead of Romeo Dobbs. Am I going to sustain that? Probably not. I think I play Romeo Dobbs there as your flex. Kyle, thank you. Damon Smith, thank you very much. Says, what's good, Drew? Everything's going well. Welcome back. I hope you're doing well. Full PPR. Who would you start in the flex? Trey Tucker, Nick Chubb, or Tyron Tracy? Okay, so here's the issue, right? Trey Tucker is supposed to be a solid option for that offense. He didn't even show up last week. The guy was a complete ghost for the offense as a whole. So I don't really trust him as like the premier number one, even with the absence of Jacoby Myers. So in this scenario, I'm probably just leaning towards playing Nick Chubb. Thank you. Moving on to Adam Amar, who says Kyron Williams for Christian McCaffrey. And for Christian McCaffrey, I have Mason, 4 and 2. Would I rather have Christian McCaffrey or Kyron Williams rest of the season with the context of having Mason on the team? I think in the long run, I'd rather just keep Kyron, and I'll tell you why. So here's my only concern. What happens if Christian McCaffrey doesn't come back as soon as we thought? Additionally, what happens if Christian McCaffrey returns and it's a split backfield between him and Mason, and they don't give him the full share of workload opportunity because they're trying to save him for the playoffs? That is my only concern. Like, I don't know if Christian McCaffrey, after all of this, is going to come back and be Christian McCaffrey. That is my only scare, to the point to where, like, I don't know if I'm willing to ship off a running back who's going to help me win right now, and in hopes that a running back 3 weeks from now shows up. Like, it's tough to trade away a top 5 running back for an expected top 5 running back. I might as well just keep the one that I have. Rogo sends in a question, says, what's up, Andrew? Happy Saturday. Thanks for Denver's defense. No problem. Pick 1, Debo, Devontae Smith, Cooper at wide receiver. As of this week, I'd play Devontae Smith at wide receiver. And then your next question, Mason, Hunt, or Higgins in the flex? Okay, so let's say, for example, if you could play Devontae Smith, well, okay, maybe it's 2 different questions for 2 different leagues. But if they're all the same league, then I'm playing Debo in the flex. But if not, Devontae Smith plays for the first side, and then for the second side between Hunt, Mason, and Higgins. If it's a full PPR, I play Higgins. If it's a half PPR, I play Hunt. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Moving on to, you said standard, half PPR. Okay, so if it's a half PPR in both scenarios, then we'll go Devontae Smith for the first one and Hunt for the second one. Thank you. Appreciate it, Rogo. Rockout sends in a question, says JT out. If Stevenson out, play Sermon or Warren. If Stevenson is also out, you would play Sermon in that scenario. Thank you. Trojan 3659 says PPR. Too cute to play Bigsby without ETN or Ramondre over Jordan Mason. No, I think I'd be okay playing both over Jordan Mason this week, in fact. If Bigsby is without ETN, you have to play him over Jordan Mason, in fact. So as for Ramondre over Mason, that might be getting a little bit too cute, but Bigsby would have to be done for sure. As for your next question, Geno or Darnold or Cousins, I currently have it ranked as Darnold number 1, Geno 2, and Cousins 3 as the available. Also, I have Kyler on waivers and Mahomes. I'd rather just run Darnold this week, to be honest. Number 8 sends in a question. Says, Worthy, Achane, or Pop Douglas in my flex? Number 8, what is your scoring format? If it's a full PPR, I'm playing Pop Douglas. If it's a half PPR standard, I'm playing Achane. Thank you. 2 for flinching sends in a question. Nothing attached to it. 2 for flinching. Can you do me a favor and type in the live chat? That'd be greatly appreciated. Let's see. Ricardo S sends in a question. Says, in a full PPR, Madison and Hunt starting for running back and Pitts for tight end. Okay, cool. Otten and Eckler on benched. I don't like that. I'm going to play Eckler over Madison. And I would play, that's it. That's the only change that I would make, Ricardo. I would play Eckler over Madison this week very comfortably. And if yes, Otten or Madison in the flex. So if moving Eckler to where Madison sits moves Madison to a potential flex spot, it would be Madison over Otten this week. Thank you. All right, so let's go to the live chat, see where 2 for flinching's at. 2, 4. Nothing attached to the question. No messages in the live chat. So if you could do me a favor, type it in. Thank you. Robert Jameson says no underdog picks with Saquon. At the moment, no. Again, like when I look at his overall picks on underdog, let's go. Let's look at these really quickly. NFL. All right, so looking at it right now. So Saquon's numbers. Can I scroll and find Saquon? I'm just gonna look him up, whatever. All right, so he's at. I mean, look, his rushing yard total is at 80, which again is a lot. His anytime touchdown, which again is not a guarantee, is at 0.83, which again don't love that. If his number was like a 0.93 or at least a flat, straight, even number to where I don't get a penalty for playing it, then I'd be cool with that. Yeah, at the moment, I mean, the only thing that I feel most comfortable with is probably going higher on his fantasy points because I don't know how he's going to get it done, but I know he will get it done. So like 15.75 fantasy points and a half PPR, I'd probably take higher on that if I was going to make a play with Saquon in that circumstance. All right, let's see if 2 for Flinching ended up sending anything. Nothing in the live chat yet. Okay, Nick Walker says, start JK or Chuba? Really good question. I think if it's I don't think it actually matters on format. I think I just, does it matter on format? I think they're both going to get themselves like 3-4 receptions, so it's not really like a big difference there. As of right now, I probably play Chuba Hubbard. Yeah, that's probably the direction I go in. Is Dell a good flex in a full PPR? Yes, he is, Nick. But if you could play both Chuba and J.K. Dobbins in this current week, Nick, I would suggest that you play both backs. Thank you. Brad sends in a question. Says, in a pick 2 PPR scenario, ETN, Connor, Hunt, Stevenson, Mostert. Okay, so Connor and Hunt would be your starters, regardless of whether or not anybody else is rolling. Thank you. Appreciate it. Let's see here. Okay, so we've caught up effectively. Yeah, I mean, look, when I look at Saquon's numbers, it's so sketch, man. They've inflated them so highly. Like, I get it, it's a revenge game, but like, he's still human. They're expecting him to do some crazy stuff. Like 18.5 rushing yards in the first quarter is wild. I don't know if I've ever seen a higher number this season in terms of first quarter rushing yards. Embry sends in a question. Says, do I start Bigsby over Deontay Johnson? Don't have anybody else. I can play once. The first game start Deontay Johnson is my second flex. Okay, so here's my suggestion. If in fact ETN is out, you play Bigsby in the morning. Otherwise, I'm waiting for Deontay Johnson. Thank you. Okay, let's see here. 2 for Flinching sends in the question finally. Says, in a half PPR, start 3 wide receivers out of A.J. Brown, Amon-Ra St. Brown, McLaurin, Debo. Okay, yeah. A.J. Brown, St. Brown, and McLaurin are your 3 starting wide receivers very easily. Next question, start 2 running backs. Dobbins, Mason, ETN, Bigsby. Okay, Dobbins is number 1. Bigsby's number 2 if, in fact, ETN is out. If he is not, then you would play Dobbins alongside of Mason. Next question, tight end, McBride, Ingram, Ferguson. You're playing McBride this week. Open spot, pick up Sermon, Goodson, Mostert, Chandler, Algier, Vidal. I would pick up Mostert as the open spot. Thank you. All right, moving on to a question that came from Caleb Hamilton. Thank you, Caleb. Says, in a PPR flex 2, Jordan Mason, Ramondre Stevenson, Najee Harris, Demario Douglas, Jordan Whittington, Waddle need upside after playing the Saints defense. Okay, so if in fact, okay, so there's a couple scenarios here. So considering, okay, this is the way that I'd go about it. I play Douglas tomorrow morning against the Jaguars, 6:30 a.m. PST in London. Then I decide between either playing Whittington or Jordan Mason. If Kupp is active, I play Jordan Mason. If Whittington does not have Kupp in the lineup, Whittington's the start against the Vegas Raiders. Thank you. Appreciate it. Abdi sends in a question. Says, JSN, Kirk, Eckler, Demario Douglas, pick one in a full PPR for this week. As of right now, I do have... It's tough between the bunch. I'm going to probably go Eckler, JSN, Douglas, Kirk in that order. Thank you. Is Charbonnet an automatic start if Kenneth Walker misses this week? He would be, but he's not going to miss. Again, he popped up on the injury report like 15 minutes ago with the illness. Again, I don't think he's going to miss this week. But yes, if in fact we were in a scenario in which Kenneth Walker was inactive tomorrow, Charbonnet would be a top 10 running back like he normally is in the absence of Kenneth Walker. Shoes says, what's a good, Andrew? In a full PPR, who we starting? Juju, Dobbs, or Leggett? I'm playing Juju there pretty comfortably. If by the time we get to the afternoon window, though, Shoes, if Deontay Johnson somehow, some way is out, even though I don't expect him to be, but if he is, then you'd pivot to playing Leggett. Jacob Glover says, in a PPR trade, Tay, Connor, Rome for Deontay, David Montgomery, and Brooks. I'd only be interested in trading for Brooks if you had Chuba. Otherwise, could probably just keep the other side. Rob sends in a question, says in a half PPR, trade Amari Cooper for Aaron Jones or Pollard. Yeah, either of the two. I'm comfortable with Pollard. I'm comfortable with Aaron Jones. Whichever of the two they want to give you, I will take happily. Do I have a preference personally? Probably I prefer to have Pollard, mainly because Tyjae Spears keeps getting hurt, and Pollard continues to maintain a huge workload of opportunity in the backfield in comparison to Aaron Jones, who's always going to potentially be in line with the injury and all that kind of jazz. So I probably lean towards getting Pollard in that scenario. If you could do it now. Chris X Cross 04 says full PPR, trade Reed/Marvin Harrison for Evans/Devontae. Reed and Marvin Harrison for Evans and Devontae Smith. Yeah, I'm okay with that. I don't have an issue with that at all. I think it's a slight upgrade in this circumstance, but yeah, I'll take the Evans and Devontae Smith side rest of the season. Or if it's Devontae Adams, I mean, that'd be even better, to be honest. Cool. Nick Walker says Devontae Smith or Tank Dell in a full PPR. Thanks. As of this week, I will play Devontae Smith in a full PPR. Thank you. Moving on to WRM, who says, in a 10-team PPR format, 2 flex options. We're currently 3-3. We have Josh Allen, Tyreek Hill, Jamar Chase, Marvin Harrison, Cooper, Worthy, Andrews, Breece Hall, Jordan Mason, JT, Bigsby. Any changes? Okay, so if you're playing in a 2-flex league, the way that I would set your lineup, right, based on what it sits at. I mean, obviously, you're playing your quarterback and tight end. So you're playing Josh Allen and you're playing Mark Andrews. Now, as for your 2 running backs that I would start, it would be Breece Hall as the number 1. With JT out this week, it would then be looking to try to play Bigsby if ETN is out. If ETN is not out, then you would play Mason alongside of Breece Hall. Then for your wide receivers, you play Jamar Chase alongside of, most likely looking at it, it's probably going to be like Jamar Chase plus Marvin Harrison. And then we're flexing Tyreek Hill and additionally flexing Amari Cooper there. Thank you. Benjamin sends in a question, says start Deontay Johnson with no pivot option / start Reek. I would rather just start Tyreek Hill there in that position. Again, if you don't have any pivoting options, then you would have to start an alternative because, again, there's too much inherent risk. Additionally, you got to remember there is still going to be pivoting options available on your waivers, but you may not have the roster ability to do so because maybe you don't have an open kind of IR spot available. Travis sends in a question. It says flex 1, Dell, Chuba, Achane, Ayuk. Out of those available, I'm playing Chuba Hubbard. As for your next question, Gibbs/Jacobs at running back. Yeah, got it. I understand. So this is the way that I would approach it, Travis. If I was in your position this week, I would in fact play Gibbs and Chuba Hubbard at running back, and I would flex Dell. But that would just be my positioning. Thank you. Let's hear. Mild Flame sends in a question. It says Khalil Shakir or Nick Chubb in a half PPR. In a half PPR, I'd rather have Nick Chubb. If it was a full PPR, I would go Khalil Shakir there. Thank you. Let's hear. What do you think of Olave with Shaheed out? I think he's a significantly better option once Derek Carr is back. But again, that's once Derek Carr is back. Now, I don't know if that's going to be week 9 or week 10 or what the overall prognosis of the potential return looks like for him and the re-injury rate and all that kind of jazz. But as it currently stands, I think he's going to be in a really strong position to be like a top 24 wide receiver rest of the way. Hopefully, he'll be on the upside portion of that, considering they're going to be in negative game scripts for majority of the rest of the season based on how their defense has played and based on how their offense has functioned since week 3. So as of right now, I think a lot of passing attempts going towards Olave as the only premier receiving target within that offense going forward. Terry R sends in a question, says drop Ray Davis for Zamir. Yeah, I'm okay with that. Pick 1, Connor, Debo, or Mooney. Awesome. So what's your format? Actually, I think regardless of format, no, it does matter. So if you're playing like in a standard format or in a half PPR, Terry, I'd probably go with Connor. If it's a full PPR, at that point, I would just play Debo. Abdi sends in a follow-up, says Zach Moss, Trey Sermon, Juju, Lad McConkey, half PPR, pick 1. Out of those available, I'm going to play Juju Smith-Schuster. Thank you. Mild Flame sends in a follow-up, says second question, Tyler Goodson or Trey Sermon? I'd rather play Trey Sermon this week. Regardless of format, half PPR, full PPR standard. Trey Sermon's the preferred. Let's see here. Rowett says, hey, Andrew, would you trade Ayuk right now in a PPR? I know it's not wise to sell him after a bad week, but I feel like another fringe week is upcoming. I have Dobbins, Chubb, Ray Davis, Braylon Allen, McLeod on the bench. I mean, look, if you were going to trade Ayuk, you'd have to trade him. Okay, so here's the thing. If you trade him now, you're not going to get very much in return. So really, what's the point of moving him unless you were going to get an actual viable option that you can trust for the remainder of the season, right? Because if you just trade him for like a fringe option, you're going to put yourself back into a similar scenario in which you are currently with not having enough confidence in the player that you've brought in, and then subsequently thinking, man, should I move this player? So you're just going to repeat the cycle if you just don't, you know what I mean? If you don't move him for a actual valuable prospect in exchange. All right, let's see. Raghav sends in a question. Says in a 10-team PPR, pick 2, we have Achane, Hubbard, Connor, and Jacobs. Okay, out of those available running backs, Achane and Hubbard are my 2 favorite. Now, as for the next question, I have Kupp at the flex, okay, which is not great. If he's out, do I start from the above? Okay, cool. So if he's out, you would then pivot to playing Connor on Monday night. Okay, cool. Thank you. Which again would be my preferred. And then as for your next question, Love, Darnold, or Anthony Richardson, I have them ordered exactly in that order. Love number 1, Darnold 2, and Anthony Richardson number 3. Thank you. Would I play Connor over Wan'Dale Robinson? I probably would in that scenario. Well, yeah, I probably would. So yeah, again, if Kupp is out, you just play Connor on Monday night. Because again, Wan'Dale Robinson plays in the morning, so you won't have the pivoting option of playing Wan'Dale Robinson ahead of Kupp until you know Kupp is out, because that time will have already passed. So again, in that scenario, Connor has to be your pivoting option from Kupp. God, my brain is getting twisted. Okay, Beware Dream says in a 10-team PPR, who to start in the flex, Juju, Addison, or Ladd McConkey? As of right now, I have Juju 1, Addison 2, Ladd 3. Thank you. Matt sends in the question. Thank you, Matt. Says flex in a full PPR, Downs, Madison, or Douglas? Douglas gets the start there. Thank you. Levi says, I just traded Ayuk for Tracy. Ayuk and Tracy for Tyreek Hill. That's a beautiful trade. Beautiful. Fantastic. I literally couldn't have scripted it better. That's as good as it gets, Levi. Again, guys, if you have an opportunity of trading for a Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Achane, it should have been done 2 weeks ago when we started talking about it. Maybe 3 weeks ago. But for sure should have been done this week already. Now that the report came out from Diana Russini of The Athletic earlier today saying that obviously Tua comes off the IR next week and he's going to practice and he's expected to potentially play against the Cardinals, like it's time. Like it is as good as it gets. Like this is time for, for those of you who have those players and you've held out to, exact some revenge. Mason Rudolph will start for the Titans on week 7. Okay, cool. Everybody fire up your Bills defense. Okay, Mason Rudolph's throwing picks this weekend. Let's see what else was made available. Okay. 49ers activated Ricky Pearsall. Again, guys, if you're wondering if Ricky Pearsall is a solid option, I would say that just understand that there are too many kind of viable options within that offense. Like truly, like if you think about it as a whole, I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. So if you think about it as a whole, right, there are just too many mouths to feed already within the offense to the extent to where, like, if you have Kittle, Debo, Ayuk, I know Jawan Jennings is going to miss this week, but then you, like, with those 3 already, and then the eventual return of McCaffrey, like, dude, there's not enough opportunities for even Ayuk, much less Pearsall. Do you know what I mean? Thank you. Lethal Jake sends in a question. All right, Lethal, let me see what you have here. So Lethal says, in a PPR, should I go with Juju or Marvin Harrison? I'd rather go with Marvin Harrison as of right now. My opponent has Mahomes, and Marvin Harrison has been iffy. Yeah, I mean, look, if you're tempted to go with Juju, that's fine. Again, I don't have an issue with it. They're going to be closely ranked tomorrow, so you'll be able to get a little bit of a perspective on the matter before having to decide tomorrow afternoon. Okay, Finns, Raj sends in a question, says, should I trade Jameson for Worthy? Absolutely not, no. Lethal Jake sends in a follow-up, says, trade Brian Robinson Jr. for Achane in Pitts last week. Woot, yeah, that's great. Terry R. sends in a question, says, full best add, Ladd, Zamir, Lockett, Vidal, or Dobbs? I'd rather have Ladd McConkey as the addition to my team. That's the best one. Thank you. Who should I start, Mason, Bigsby, or Connor? Game over. I would only play Bigsby if ETN is out tomorrow morning. Otherwise, you play Connor. Stone Broke says, in a full PPR, which 2 are you starting? Ayuk, Wan'Dale Robinson, Romeo Dobbs, and Christian Watson. I'm playing Wan'Dale Robinson, Brandon Ayuk tomorrow. Michael Hart Jr. says, in a PPR, Achane or Pollard? I have Pollard ahead of Achane in a full PPR because of that receiving upside. And I do believe that Mason Rudolph does elevate his potential, especially with Tyjae Spears out tomorrow. Pollard, again, you know what I'm actually going to do? What is Pollard's number for receptions on Underdog right now? Because I think that actually needs to be hit. They already deactivated his stuff because they're realigning it. Hold up. Let me go find it. Tony Pollard. Yep, they removed him. They removed Pollard. As they should, because I was literally going to start. Yeah, they removed Pollard completely. I think they re-racked the whole Titans team because they have to readjust the numbers. Okay, so we'll see how it comes back. Anyway, moving on. We had a question that came in from Prohibit. Thank you, Prohibit. It says Chubb, Goodson, Moss, pick one. Yeah, it's going to be Chubb. Thank you. Big Trips says 10-team full PPR, pick 3, Bigsby, Evans, Garrett Wilson, BTJ, Flowers. Okay, so you have really good options across the board. If it's my team, I'm playing Flowers, Garrett Wilson, and Evans. I think that's it. Yeah, that's probably the way that I go. It's between Evans and BTJ. I do have Evans ahead of BTJ, though. So again, it would be Flowers, Garrett Wilson, and Evans in this current circumstance. Big Trips. Thank you. Moving on to Tim Schwartz, who says, Standard League, I need to flex Deontay Johnson, Gibbs, or Reed. Out of those 3 options, I'm playing Jaden Reed. Thank you. Jay Spear says, in a full PPR, start Ramondre, Worthy, or Tyrone Tracy. Out of those 3, I'm playing Ramondre Stevenson. Thank you. Abe says, Connor, Sermon, or Tracy. In a full PPR, also no Godwin in the S tier. What's with the... Okay, listen, Abe. If you're trying to get banned, that's the quick way to do it. You use the H word, and it's over. That's one of my most disliked words that could possibly exist on the face of the earth. Okay? So, no, I might have to ban the word so no one can use it. But yeah. Anyway. Continuing on. Between those 3, you know what? You use the... Yeah, you know what? You use the word. We can't actually abide by it anymore. We're moving on. You use the word. No questions answered. Continuing on. Isaiah says, would you say it's okay to play the Chargers defense? Because I don't have any options, sadly. No, I think the Chargers defense as of right now, based on last night when I was updating overall rankings, Chargers defense is my number 7 going into this weekend of the available defenses that are remaining. Ando says, in a rest of season, Olave or Higgins? I think I'd still rather have Higgins in that scenario. Grim Gaines says, half PPR, who to bench? Kupp, Deontay Johnson, Terry McLaurin, or Amari Cooper? Okay, so as of right now, Amari Cooper is not very much so viable considering, again, it's his first week. So I'm either with Kupp, Deontay Johnson, or Terry McLaurin. Between those 3, well, it depends. Are you benching one or are you benching multiple? Because the way that I would order this in my rankings would be Terry number 1, Terry McLaurin, then Kupp number 2, Deontay 3, and Amari Cooper 4. Of course, Kupp might not play, Deontay might not play. So again, McLaurin is the clear number 1. Let's see here. We scroll down. Jay McLaughlin says, standard flex. BTJ, Tracy, Juju, or Bucky. Whew. I'd probably play BTJ there, Jay McLaughlin. That would be my suggestion. I have Kupp, but I'm looking for another option for him. Yeah, I mean, at this point, BTJ is probably the safer of the bunch because I don't think actually Kupp plays tomorrow. Otherwise, he would have had a full practice participation and they wouldn't have him as a quote-unquote game time decision. Jordan Love or Baker Mayfield? Stone broke. Just play Jordan Love there. Singletary or Tracy in a half PPR? I think we just have to play Singletary until otherwise noted. Ziggy sends in a question. Thank you, Ziggy. Ziggy's question is, in a PPR, if we wanted to trade for Tyreek Hill, who would you give between BTJ, Deontay Johnson, Pittman, Douglas, and Addison? If it was my team, I would be trading away Deontay Johnson and Pittman in order to get Tyreek Hill right now. And I would keep the rest as is and let it ride. Now, if they want something else, like if they're okay taking... Actually, no, I want to keep Addison and I kind of want to keep Douglas and I probably want to keep BTJ. So again, yeah, Pittman and Deontay Johnson would be my sells in that scenario. If they have to take like Douglas, then sure, take Deontay Johnson and Douglas. But otherwise, you're not giving away BTJ in that scenario or Addison, unless Addison is going to be paired with Pittman. Aaron Alexander says, in a full PPR, flex Sermon, Goodson, or Pittman. In a full PPR, I'd probably just play Michael Pittman Jr. there. Hey, Andrew, should I start Marv, Pop Douglas, or Ramondre in a full PPR? I think in a full PPR, it's probably just going to be Pop Douglas there. Ricardo says Josh Allen or Jordan Love. Josh Allen. Primetime says start Tracy or Bucky. I have Bucky ahead of Tracy as of right now. I don't want to play Tracy unless Devin Singletary's out. Let's see here. GS sends in a question. Half PPR, Superflex. I sent Hunt plus McBride for Cook or Goddard. And Goddard, okay. Did I win? I mean, look, ultimately, I think it's a win because, again, you get Cook for the rest of the season, which is the most valuable prospect of this entire trade. That being said, Goddard is probably going to miss some time here. And until he gets healthy, you're going to probably have to look to an alternative option. Until then, I think, again, Cook in the long run is the most valuable prospect of the group. How are we feeling about Stevenson, says Chico? I mean, again, he's probably going to be a top 24 running back by tomorrow morning's rankings. As to how confident we are, again, not practicing the whole week isn't very much so a confidence booster. But again, when he's healthy, he's a pretty good running back. And taking on the Jaguars and most likely a neutral game script is definitely in his favor. Will Zach Moss be droppable in a 10-team league? Yes, I think he is droppable right now in a 10-team league, unless you have Chase Brown and you want to hold that handcuff on roster. All right, let's see here. We scroll there. Terry R says you missed my question. Terry, I answered the question, and I'll go back to it and I'll answer it again. It's Lad McConkey out of those available. Thank you. Moving on to Rough Times. Where is Rough Times' question? Says in a half PPR, 0.25 per rush, okay? 2 wide receivers and 1 flex. We have Kupp, Pickens, Waddle, Brian Robinson, Chase Brown. What game time decision? Okay, very well. Okay, so of the available options you have, again, you have a lot of game time decisions. You have a lot of unknowns in this scenario, which again is very risky. So I want to play Kupp alongside of Pickens, but the issue is you have Waddle. So my suggestion, Rough Times, is that you need to hit the waiver wire and go pick up Jordan Whittington. And then subsequently, once Kupp doesn't play, or if he doesn't play, you would pivot from Kupp to Whittington and you leave Pickens as your other wide receiver. I'm not playing Waddle this week. As for the next question between Brian Robinson and Chase Brown, considering Brian Robinson plays in the afternoon and we do not have a complete designation as to whether or not he will play, you are then forced to play Chase Brown in the flex. So it'd be Chase Brown in the flex, Kupp and Pickens until you can pivot to playing Whittington over Kupp if he is out. Thank you very much. Nelson Martinez sends in a question. I don't see anything attached to it. Let me see if you have anything in the live chat. Nelson Martinez, I don't see. If you can do me a favor, type in the chat. Appreciate it. Sin City says, hey, brother. In a flex non-PPR, HN, Marvin Harrison, or Algier? In a non-PPR, I'd just play HN there. Crispy sends in a question. Nothing attached to it, but I see it. It says, if Deontay is out, do you recommend I play Kareem Hunt, Tyreek Hill, Aaron Jones, or Montgomery, or BTJ? Out of those available options, it depends on scoring format. If you're playing in like a full PPR, at that point, I'd probably just play BTJ. If it's a half PPR, I'd just play with Montgomery in my lineup. Thank you. Douglas or Marvin Harrison. If it's a full PPR, we probably go Douglas. If it's a half, we'll probably go Marvin. But that's also still being very risky with it. Very risky. Bigsby or T. Higgins? I'd only ever play Bigsby over T. Higgins, Clubby, if ETN is out tomorrow morning against the Patriots. That would be the only scenario that I would sit in which I would make that kind of a move. All right, Nelson, did you end up typing anything? Nothing from Nelson yet? Okay. MX Gundy says, or Mr. Gundy, says, hey, Andrew, in a PPR, or sorry, half PPR, pick 1, Chubb, Bigsby, Cooper. Again, I'd only ever play Bigsby if ETN is out. Otherwise, it's Chubb in this scenario. Thank you. Moving on to G Medina, who says in a half PPR, if Deontay Johnson should be out, okay, if Deontay Johnson should be out, pick 1 to replace a wide receiver 2, Ayuk, Pickens, Wanda Robinson, or Douglas. In a half PPR, Ayuk would be the replacement because he also plays in the afternoon slate, so that you can have a pivoting option, because otherwise Wanda Robinson and Douglas play in the morning. So your only 2 pivoting options for Deontay Johnson will be Ayuk and Pickens, and I prefer Ayuk in that circumstance. Thank you. Okay, let's see here. We had a question from Undoxed, but I don't see any message there. Oh, there it is. I see it. It says, only spot I have open is 1 flex spot in a full PPR, Stephon Diggs, James Cook, or Jordan Mason. Of those available in a full PPR, Stephon Diggs is your starting player. Thank you, Undoxed. Appreciate it. All right, Nelson, did you end up typing anything? Nelson. Nothing from Nelson yet. Okay, very well. Moving on to a question that came in from Ishan, who says, would you flex Jordan Mason, Dalton Kincaid, or Darnell Mooney in a full PPR? I would play Darnell Mooney in the full PPR format. Thank you. Moving on to a question that comes in from Ashley. Says in a half PPR, need one flex. JMO, Kirk, Shakir, Wando Robinson. In a half PPR, I'm playing Jamison Williams there. Thank you, Ashley. Appreciate it. Nando sends in a question. Says in a half PPR, Debo, Chase Brown, or Kareem Hunt. Out of those three, I'd play Chase Brown. Thank you. Crispy says, hey, Andrew, I sent in another question in the super chat. I hope you're able to find it. Okay, let me see if I can find that. Crispy. Hey, Andrew, hope all is well. Am I crazy for starting Bigsby over Aaron Jones and Monty if ETN is out? I don't think you're crazy for doing it. If Monty has been yeah, look, if it's my position, I'd like to play Monty number 1. If ETN is out, Bigsby would be number 2, and then Aaron Jones would be 3. Right? So that's the way I go about it. Then furthermore, if Deontay Johnson is out, then who would you play? And then we answer that one. Okay, got it, Crispy. Thanks, man. Okay, let's see here. Cyanide says HN or BTJ in the flex full PPR. We're going to play BTJ there. You think Evans is playing? Yes, he's going to play. Jay Steve says, keep as number 2 quarterback for rest of the season, Gino or Darnold? I'd rather have Darnold the rest of the season. Thank you. And honestly, I'd rather start him this week on top of that, Jay. Who should I start for my number 1 and 2 and flex? Harrison, Debo, Zay, and Amon-Ra. Amon-Ra is number 1. Zay Flowers is number 2, and Debo is number 3. Game over. E111 says, I still don't know what the H word is. Listen, okay. Understand, okay? I'll go over this one time, and then for nobody else who hears it, again, there's only 500 of you in here, but I guess the context is required. Okay, just understand, right? When anybody says, like, Andrew, why do you hate this player? Or what's with this, hate that? It's literally it's almost childish to even think that someone would even Anyway, there's an implication when you say hate this player or hate this player. It's like, there's nothing personal. It's a game of fucking numbers. Like, what are we talking about? So anyway, when anybody accuses me of hating this or hating that, it's fucking stupid. So I hate the word of hate. I dislike it. That's probably the only thing I hate. But anyway, that's where we're at, okay? So everybody's on the same page of why that pissed me off enough. Because, again, the amount of times I get that bullshit word is just stupid. Because, again, it's not the correct word for the question that needs to be asked. Andrew, why don't you specifically prefer to play X player over this player? It's nothing personal. It's just numbers. It's just calculations. I have a metric system. That is what the designator is. Thank you. All right, moving on to the question of Abe, who says, oh, okay, Abe comes in. Here we go. Okay, so Abe, now you know the context, right? We get it? We're on the same page? As long as we're on the same page. You're playing Connor, Abe. Thank you. PPR, Wando, Robinson, or Connor? Sweet. I probably just play Connor there just to be safe. Do I start Hunt or Harrison in a half PPR? E111. I'm just going to play Hunt there. No problem, Ashley. Have a good one. Jake G says, trade Achane for Chuba and Debo. If you have Brooks, maybe. Otherwise, no. I think Achane's, again, he's going to be like a top 5 running back once Tua comes back. I think that's the issue. All right, let's see here. You should ban the W word too? What's the W word? Now we're just making shit up, right? Now we're just trying to troll me. Is that what's going on here? All right, let's see here. Hello from Australia, says Michael. Says in a full PPR, choose 3 of Achane, Bigsby, and Addison. Choose 3 of, and okay. So do you mean choose 1 or choose 3, Michael? Because you mentioned 3 names and you mentioned 3 players, and I'm choosing 3. Like, I don't understand. He's just a top 5 wide receiver. Just wondering why he wasn't S. Yeah, again, the lack of an S tier is just a matter of projection of numbers. That's it. When I do my projection model at the beginning of the week and at the end of the week, the tiers are based on fantasy points I expect them to score. That's all it is. Again, you got to remember that tiers in our system work in the way in which if players are in the same tier as one another, I can justify based on my fantasy point model to play one over the other because their projections are so close. So that's why the tiers exist in the way that they do. Nelson says, sent comment, huge fan. Oh, did you end up sending it in, Nelson? Nelson, where are you at, my man? Okay, Nelson says, my boy Andrew, I need your help. I have Murray at quarterback, Saquon at running back, James Cook at running back 2, very well. Jamar Chase at wide receiver 1, T. Higgins at wide receiver 2, and Downs in the flex, McBride at tight end, Waddle, Kirk, Pop Douglas on the bench. I have I want Tyreek, bro, or Jaden Reed. Need help. I mean, look, at this point, I'm going to suggest you play Pop Douglas in your flex. Then additionally after, if you're going to try to get Tyreek Hill, it's most likely going to cost you an arm and a leg. What I mean an arm and a leg, and I mean literally you'd have to give away like Waddle and T. Higgins in order to get Tyreek Hill back. I think getting Tyreek Hill is probably out of the realm of possibility in your scenario. I'd probably say if you want Jaden Reed, you'd have to also probably have to give up an arm and a leg, maybe T. Higgins plus like a Downs. But that's always only because like if you're going to trade for somebody's top tier wide receiver, they're probably going to want a wide receiver in exchange, right, Nelson? So again, Tyreek Hill is probably going to cost you Waddle and T. Higgins. Otherwise, if you want to go after Jaden Reed, you'd probably have to send away like T. Higgins plus Downs or T. Higgins plus Pop Douglas and see if they'll take that. If they don't, again, you're not moving Chase because he is the most valuable prospect in this scenario, unless they want to give you Jaden Reed and Tyreek Hill for Chase and Waddle. I mean, at that point, it could work, but ultimately, I just keep what you have because I don't think there's a necessity to have to move in that scenario. But otherwise, the roster looks good to go. I mean, again, across the board, the only difference I'm making is moving Pop Douglas into that flex. If you have a good feeling about Anthony Richardson tomorrow, then you can keep it as is. But otherwise, pretty strong roster. In order to get those players, again, you're going to have to give up a lot because they have done a lot thus far this season in terms of fantasy production. Ishan sent in a follow-up. Let's get to it right now. Ishan says, choose 2 between Hubbard, Devontae Smith, and Gibbs in a full PPR. I would play Hubbard and I would play Devontae Smith there. Thank you. PHLGLH1029. I don't even know how to pronounce it, but says in a PPR, should I trade Kittle for Connor plus Jamison Williams? If you have another backup tight end that you can flex into the position for the remainder of the season comfortably, and Connor is going to start and Jamison Williams is going to start, then sure. Otherwise, if you're making this trade and Connor's the only position that is going to start, and Jamison Williams is just going to go sit on your bench, and you don't have an ample tight end to back up Kittle, I would just keep Kittle, legitimately. The Powder Blue sends in a question, says Herbert, Lawrence, May, Dalton, Wilson, Darnold, or Jones in my Superflex slot. Okay, so you have a lot of opportunity, to find some success here. Of the available that you have, Powder Blues, Sam Darnold is my preferred of those names to play in your Superflex. So Sam Darnold would play. The next best option I would say is most likely playing Trevor Lawrence or Drake May, but I do have Sam Darnold a significantly, I have him like 10 or 12 spots ahead of any of those other alternative options you mentioned. So Darnold's the play. Thank you. Let's see here. Mark sends in a question. Says, should I play Dobbs or Christian Watson over Pickens? I don't have either of them over Pickens as of right now. Yeah, I mean, the only one that I would consider is playing Dobbs over Pickens, but do I make that play? I probably wouldn't. I think I'd roll with Pickens in that scenario. All right, so let's see here. Let me scroll back up. Daniel Barnes had sent in a question. I missed that accidentally. Let's go back up here. Missed a couple more questions. Daniel Gonzalez says in a PPR, pick 3, Marvin Harrison, Mike Evans, BTJ, Devontae Smith, and Tank Bigsby. Okay, so of the available in a PPR scoring format, Devontae Smith, Mike Evans, and BTJ. That's the 3 I'm rolling with. Ashley sends in a follow-up, says Hurts or Baker. I'm going to play Jalen Hurts this week. I have AJ and Godwin. If that matters. It doesn't matter. I'm just going to try to play the quarterback that I have projected to score the most points. So as of right now, Jalen Hurts is it. Daniel Barnes says, my running backs are Montgomery, Achane, Mason, Chubb, Jonathan Brooks. Okay. Solid for the rest of the season. Should I be looking to add/drop? My lineup are 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, and 1 flex. I mean, Montgomery, Achane, Mason, Chubb. Jonathan Brooks. As of right now, going forward, like really your team is just going to be placed on the backs of Montgomery and Achane, especially considering they're both past their bye weeks. So that's your RB1 and 2 for the remainder of the season. I don't think you need to make any other alternative moves at running back at the moment. Thank you. Moving on to a question that came in from Diego, who says, Charbonnet or Tracy, PPR, assuming Kenneth Walker is active. So if Kenneth Walker is active, I'm playing Tracy there. Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, let's see here. We had a question that came in from Edgar, who says, start Gibbs or Charbonnet if Kenneth Walker sits. If Kenneth Walker sits, I'm going to... wow. If Kenneth Walker sits, I'll play Charbonnet this week. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, Aaron in the chat says, half PPR, Marvin Harrison, Tank Dell, Chase Brown, or Austin Eckler. One wide receiver and one flex. The wide receiver would be Tank Dell, and the flex would be Chase Brown there, Aaron. Thank you. Ishan says, Dearness Johnson or Devin Singletary. I have Tank and ETN. Yeah, I'd rather have Devin Singletary at the moment. Thank you. Tim Dixon says, Andrew, hey there, short and sweet. Achane, Smith-Schuster, or Pickens in the flex in a full PPR. In a full PPR, I'd rather play Smith-Schuster as of right now. Thank you. Let's see here. Soham says, Aaron, I'd say Dell. Okay, maybe he's talking to somebody else. Okay, anyway. Mofoki says, pick 2 in a PPR, Kupp, Debo, Deontay Johnson. Okay, so here's the thing. You want to play Kupp and Deontay Johnson. If, in fact, Kupp is inactive, then you would play Debo instead. If Deontay Johnson's inactive, then you would have to put somebody on your IR, then pick up somebody and play them in the afternoon slate of window, you know? Okay. Let's see here. Frost Fruit says, start 3, Mason, Achane, Chase Brown, Aaron Jones, JSN. So if I'm starting 3 of those available options, okay? Chase Brown, Achane, and JSN, assuming it's a full PPR. If it's not, then at that point we would go Chase Brown, Achane, and Aaron Jones. Thank you. David sends in a question, says, drop Ty Chandler for Sean Tucker. No, I'd keep Ty Chandler just in case Aaron Jones is going to miss some time here. Michael says, apologies, Andrew. Question was, I meant to choose 2 between Achane, Addison, and Bigsby. Got it. So, as of right now, Bigsby only plays out of those 3 options, Michael, if ETN is out tomorrow morning. So, in this circumstance, if ETN does play, you're going to play Achane and Addison. If ETN does not play, you would play Bigsby and Achane. Thank you. Do you think Gibbs does better with Montgomery this week? Does better than Montgomery this week, given the matchup in a full PPR? There's no guarantee. Again, a lot of the overall upside of Montgomery is based on kind of field positioning. If they end up in the red zone, chances are he's getting the goal line carry instead, right? So it's very much so dependent on whether or not that field positioning is in favor of one over the other. But like in terms of overall usage between the two, obviously the touches are relatively similar. If in fact they come into a struggling time of being able to run the ball and not being able to find much success in doing so, which again, I doubt they are an elite run blocking team. What we typically do see over the course of this entire season is that typically Jahmyr Gibbs does play significantly more overall snaps than Montgomery. So if it becomes a game in which they cannot run the ball, then Gibbs would be a significantly better overall play. But again, you'd be you'd technically be expecting the best run blocking team in the league to perform not up to their overall standard, which again, I don't think that they'll be able to I don't think they'll falter. I think they're going to continue to just pound the rock and beat teams up. And this week on the menu, the Minnesota Vikings defense. What's up, Dilo? How's it going? Ando says, I'm 3-3 in a 10-team league. Half PPR, we have Josh Allen, London, Reed, Jacobs, Barkley, Kincaid, Koo, Steelers. Benches, Connors, Higgins, Hill, Ferguson, Chubb, Aubrey. Puka's on the IR. Any trade suggestions? I mean, at this point, when your bench is Connor, Higgins, and Hill with Puka Nacua sitting there and Ferguson, there's multiple suggestions I could make. After you get Tyreek Hill back next week with Tua Tagovailoa, at that point, I think you're just taking Connor and Jacobs and you're trading him for you would trade both those for Kyron. You're going to 2-for-1 it. You know what I mean? Like you'd go after a top tier running back like a Bijan and you send both those running backs for 1. And then you would, as soon as you have Tyreek Hill in the lineup, Higgins is kind of that flexible option that if, when you get into bye weeks and stuff, you just keep him. But that's what my only suggestion I would make is after Tyreek Hill comes back, you're making a swap. Maybe you could even do it this week. You never know. Do you prefer Metcalf or Devontae Smith? As of this week, probably going to lean towards Metcalf. I love Devontae Smith. Don't get it wrong. The W word is weather. Look, make music. You know me so well. You know me so well. It's actually ridiculous. That is another, yeah. You know what? It's not a banned word. It's only a banned word. Like, oh, how's the weather today? Is it looking good? Oh, great, fantastic. But if people complain that the weather is an issue, or if, Andrew, are you worried about the weather? That is, maybe worried is the banned word. 2 W words. Worried and weather. Again, again, weather is, it's nothing that should ever, especially wind. Unless you're starting a kicker in the wind, expect your quarterback to be fine, you know? I've seen too often, Andrew, there's a 20-mile-per-hour wind. Should we sit Josh Allen? Guys, I think we should play him. Josh Allen proceeds to throw for 350 yards and 4 touchdowns. You know what I mean? Like, too many times, I'm telling you, man. For over the years, I have seen it. But yes, you know me so well. DK Metcalf or Devontae Smith? As of this week, I'm probably going to lean towards DK Metcalf. Telugu sends in a question. Thank you, Telugu. Says, Cook/Mason/Montgomery, BTJ, J-Mo Leggett, 1 running back and 1 flex and a half PPR. Cool. So the running back that I would play there, Telugu, is most likely going to be, I'd probably play James Cook at running back, and then I probably end up flexing Montgomery. That's the way that I'd go about it. Thank you. Let's see here. Kyle in the chat says, pick 2 in a PPR, Sermon, Bigsby, or Eckler. I'm going to play, okay, so as of right now, Eckler is your auto start. Bigsby is very contingent on ETN. If ETN is not active, you would play Bigsby tomorrow morning at 6:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time in London. Otherwise, you'd pivot to playing Sermon and Eckler. Thank you. Let's see here. Alex says, Bigsby, Jordan Mason, or Chase Brown. Out of those available options, Alec, I'm probably, okay, so very similar to the last question. If ETN is out, Bigsby and Chase Brown. If ETN is in, Chase Brown and Mason. Thank you. Hank Hennig sends in a question. Thank you, Hank. Hank says, trade Tracy to Singletary owner for Vidal. Nope, not interested. I keep Tracy. Alex Songrass sends in a question. Says, in a 6-point per passing touchdown league, JD5 or Baker Mayfield? I would play JD5 still. Standard start 2, Cook, Tank Dell. Oh, sorry, that's Cook, Tank, Bigsby, Jacobs, Adams, Brian Robinson. Got it. So if we're starting 2 in a standard format, right? Cook and Brian Robinson will be the 2 that I want to play. If Brian Robinson does not play, wait, who's Adams? Am I losing my mind? Because the only Adams in the league is Devontae. So who are we talking about here? Is this like a flex start, Alex? Or is Adams in the wrong position? Follow-up question is full PPR Mason or Tank Bigsby? Again, only Bigsby if ETN is out. And then at the flex, Brian Thomas, Downs, or Douglas, I play Brian Thomas Jr. there in the flex. So yeah, for your first question, Alex, curious, is that Devontae Adams, and is it a flex position that we're filling in? If so, I'd like to know, because he would probably be one of the implicated to start there. JK sends in a question, says, in a full PPR, trade away Tracy for Worthy. My running backs are Taylor, Jones, Singletary. No, I would not trade away Tracy if you have Singletary. Again, we want to wait and see who's going to be the starter of that backfield before we make any immediate changes to where it could eventually impact you in a negative factor. Imagine you go out this week, you traded away Tracy, and Tracy is the permanent starter for the remainder of the season. You'd be sitting there with Singletary having to probably drop him the next week after making a pretty bad decision in that circumstance. So I'd wait. I'd hold. Thank you. Kent sends in a question. Says, half PPR. Reed, Higgins, Kupp, Deontay, Mason, HN. Pick 3. Reed. Okay, so this is the way that I want to go about it. I want to play Reed for sure, without a doubt. Then I want to play Kupp and Deontay Johnson. But the issue is we don't know if they're going to be healthy. So because you don't have very many pivoting options, the way that I'd probably go about this is I would play Reed and HN. And then I'd have Kupp, Deontay, and Mason as a pivoting option for the afternoon, as they all play in the afternoon slate window. Therefore, what you would do is you would try to play Kupp. If he's active, he starts. Then if he's not active, then you would pivot to Deontay. If Deontay's not active, then you would pivot to playing Mason, which we know is going to play. So again, Reed and HN, then you would try to go in the order of Kupp, Deontay, Mason based on activity of being available. Moving on to a question from Chris, who says, Kraft over Kincaid in a PPR. No, I have Kincaid over Kraft this week. Thank you. Chris Moraga says, in a half PPR, need a wide receiver and a running back and a flex. Christian Kirk, Calvin Ridley with Rudolph starting, Zach Moss, Tyler Algier, David Njoku, must-win week. Okay, So considering the circumstance of the half PPR format, Calvin Ridley is going to play at wide receiver. Running back is going to be Tyler Algier. And your flex is probably going to be David Njoku there. Thank you. Moving on to Alex D, who says in a half PPR pick 2, flex Douglas, Njoku, or Pickens. As of those available options in a half PPR, I'm going to play Douglas and Pickens. Thank you. Moving on to Galactic123, who says in a full PPR, Achane or Jordan Mason. I will play Achane this week over Jordan Mason. Also, Goff or Kyler. I'd rather play Goff this week as well. Thank you. Abe says backup QB. Don't think Fields gets his job back. I mean, look, here's the issue, right? Like, Fields probably doesn't get his job back unless like Russell Wilson throws like the next 6 games in a row. You know what I mean? So anyway, so for your backup QB, for Richardson, Smith, Nix, or Jones, at this point, I'd probably like to pick up Anthony Richardson or Geno Smith. Either of the two work. Obviously, it's going to be dependent on upcoming bye weeks. So let's see here. Seahawks schedule. So the upcoming schedule for the Seahawks, I think, is pretty favorable. After this Bills matchup, you know what? Now that I look at it, it's not great. I don't love that. I'd probably just pick up Anthony Richardson as of right now. Let me look at this Colts schedule. Yeah, I don't like that schedule. They both have a buzzsaw of like having to play against Buffalo and the Jets in back-to-back weeks, which is crazy. And he has to take on the Vikings. Oof, wow. All right, maybe it is Geno Smith. Yeah, I think it's probably just playing Geno Smith in that scenario then. Alex Songrass says Devontae Adams. Okay, so it is a flex position. Got it. So Alex, for your first question, a standard start 2. Out of those available options, I want to play Brian Robinson and I want to play James Cook. Now, if in fact we get into a scenario in which Brian Robinson does not play, you would pivot to playing Devontae Adams in the night game against the Steelers. Okay? Thank you, Alex. Appreciate it. And again, to remind you, the prior questions, Tank Bigsby would only play over Mason if ETN is out. And then also Brian Thomas Jr. would be the final question to answer. Thank you. One running back, one flex. Got it. Yeah, we're on the same page. Got it. Perfect. Good to go. Thank you, Alex. Jocelyn says, in a full PPR, flex spot Montgomery, Chase Brown, Wando Robinson, or Pop Douglas. In a full PPR, I probably still play Montgomery there. Chase Brown would be number 2. I'd only ever pay. Yeah, I don't really want to play Wando Robinson. I don't love like Avonte Maddox is a pretty good nickel cornerback. Pop Douglas could be a surprise play, but I think the consistency of your alternative options are a little bit too difficult to kind of pass up on. So Montgomery and Chase Brown will be the 1-2 combo. Let's see here. Where are we at? We took care of that. We're good to go. Ryan Lawrence says, pick 2 in a standard league. Sermon, Goodson, Madison, Pop Douglas. In a standard 0 point per reception format, I'm going to probably play Sermon and Madison in that scenario. Thank you. Caleb Garza says, would you trade Fields, Connor, and Mason and Christian McCaffrey for Amon-Ra and Jalen Hurts? Full PPR, I have Kyron Mason. Okay, so you have Mason and you're trading away McCaffrey. I don't love the idea of doing so. Okay, so you don't have any other quarterback, is what you're saying, Caleb. I'd go pick up Russell Wilson before I make a trade like this, to be honest. So you'd be trading those two for... Yeah, no. I would not make that trade, Caleb. I would go pick up a waiver wire quarterback. Thank you. Gabriel Martin sends in a question. Says, if Ramondre Stevenson plays, would you start him over Mooney in the flex in a standard scoring format? Yes, I would. Thank you, Gabriel. Jake G says, left comment, watching since 2020. Cool. Thank you, Jake. I appreciate the support. Jake G sends in the following. Says, trade Achane for Chubb and Debo. I think we answered that one already, but maybe we'll continue on. Been watching since 2020. I can offer Achane and Reed for Wilson and Chuba. No. You keep. No. You keep. Absolutely keep. Again, next week, Tua comes back. Achane becomes a top 10 running back rest of the season, if not top 5. Reed is a better option than Wilson rest of the season. You keep. And then your next question, I have Stroud, Love, Montgomery, Achane, Bucky, Wright, Lamb, Nico, Smith, Reed. Yeah, I think you've got a really, really strong team for the future, Jake. I don't move anything. I know you've got a really strong record, but I don't see it as I have to make a move. I think you're overthinking it at the moment. I think you've got a really strong team that doesn't need to be fucked with. Okay, let's go ahead and let's scroll down here for the next question on hand. Maybe I knew it. My computer was going to crash. Let's close that. Let's close that. Very well. Okay, we have a question that came in from Chris Moraga, who says, Laporta or Njoku this week? I'd rather play Laporta. Thank you. And for rest of the season, I prefer Laporta as well. Appreciate it. Yala in the chat says, greetings from China. In a full PPR Superflex, nobody wants Mahomes. Okay, that is understandable. Neither do I. Okay. How can be a good sub for who can be a good sub? That's what you meant. Okay. In addition, who should I start? Evans or Kraft, Bigsby or Chubb? Okay. So if you're looking for alternative options for Mahomes, again, I dropped a quarterback video earlier this week. So look for the alternative options that are potentially available in that circumstance. If not, you just roll with Mahomes this week. As for Evans and Kraft, you play Evans. As for Bigsby and Chubb, you play Bigsby if ETN is out. Otherwise, you play Chubb. Thank you. Space Bjorn says, rank Madison, Douglas, Mason, and Aaron Jones in a half PPR. Okay, so in a half PPR this week, Aaron Jones would be 1, Mason would be 2, Douglas would be 3, and Madison would be 4, assuming they're all healthy and ready to go. Thank you. Wandell or Addison in a full PPR? Mateo, I think I actually just play Addison there pretty comfortably, especially with Hawkinson out now. Lad McConkey or Juju? Robert, I'm going to play Juju there. 99 says standard league flex, Ramondre or Tracy? Ramondre, thank you. Sean Trevino says in a full PPR start 3, Douglas, Hunt, Tracy, Wandell. I'm playing Douglas, Hunt, and Wandell. I'm benching Tracy. Ando says in a half PPR rest of the season, if all are healthy, including Tua, Tyreek Hill, Puka, London, Reed, and Higgins. Rest of season, how do I rank them? Tyreek Hill's number 1, London's number 2, Reed is Puka's, wait. Assuming all are healthy, Tyreek 1, London 2, Puka 3, Reed is 4, Higgins is 5. Matt Noakes says Bucky, White, Tank Bigsby, or Chubb. I'm going to play Tank Bigsby or Chubb. Obviously, Tank Bigsby dependent on whether or not ETN is active. Otherwise, you pivot to Chubb over the Tampa Bay backfield. TS15 says full PPR pick 2 in a flex. Cup, Diggs, McLaurin, Reed, St. Brown. St. Brown, Diggs, and Reed are my 3 starters. Thank you. Dobbins, 4 Jacobs. Sure, I think that's relatively equal across the board. Harrison says, hey, Andrew, a bit of a tough one here. Which one would you start in a full PPR, Leggett or Jerry Jeudy? Thank you in advance. I'd play Leggett this week. Thank you. Moving on to Joseph Romero, who says in a half PPR, Mooney or Bigsby. I'd only play Bigsby if, in fact, we have the guarantee tomorrow morning that ETN is out. Otherwise, Mooney's the start. Thank you. Let's see here. Okay, we've caught up effectively. That was a lot of questions, but we did it. Moving on to a question that comes in from Anvesh, who says, is Ray Davis droppable or should I stash in case Cook misses any games in the future, or do I drop for someone on the waivers instead? I would just drop and swap. Juju or Downs says, I don't even know how to... Nobry? I would play Juju. And then we have a question from Fashion, who says, would you trade Marvin Harrison and Hunt for Jaden Reed and Waddle? Yes, absolutely, immediately. I would do it in like such a fast, instant click. Get that done as soon as you possibly can. Reed and Waddle rest of the season for sure. Ramblin' Man says Stevenson, Eckler, or Pickens at the flex. Eckler, thank you. Timbo Slice says pick 2, Addison, Mooney, Pickens, Juju in a PPR. I'm playing Addison and I'm playing Juju this week. Lockie sends in a question, says standard scoring. Am I crazy to think that Mostert or Sermon over Mason this week? No, you're not crazy. I don't mind it. I'm going to have Mason, excuse me, I'm going to have Mason ahead of both of them tomorrow, but by like maybe 1 or 2 spots. Again, just off of the respect of the offense of the 49ers. That's basically it. Michael Ortiz says, I'm currently 5-1. Sorry, no. That's not 5-1. Half PPR 1 flex. Worthy, Shakir, Watson. Okay, between those 3, I'd like to play Shakir. Burrow or Purdy, I'm going to play Burrow. Thank you. Let's see here. Mayfield or Hurts? I have Jalen Hurts. Eliam says, full PPR, Marvin Harrison or Demario Douglas in the flex. I think I have Demario Douglas like very slightly ahead of him. Start Juju or Ayuk? I'd rather probably play Juju in a full PPR. Arnold. Addison or Debo PPR, I'm going to play Debo there. Full PPR, Douglas or Wandale Robinson, I'm playing Douglas there. Achane or Bigsby in the flex, I'm going to play Achane unless ETN is out, in which then I would play Bigsby over Achane. Thank you. Let's see here. Can't believe I'm asking, but if ETN is out, should I play Bigsby or Tyreek Hill in the flex? I legitimately would play Bigsby because I don't trust Tyler Huntley enough to be able to kind of outproduce that circumstance. Any case to play Dobbs over Juju, half PPR or standard league, I could accept it, but I don't love it. Achane or Bigsby, already took care of that one. Let's see here. Aaron Jones or Dobbins, says TS. I'm going to play Dobbins there. He's a top 10 running back this week. Is Chase Brown and Garrett Wilson for Jamar Chase too much? Yes, it is too much. Philippos. You'd have to be in a scenario in which you have an abundance of talent on your team. Like it's a small league, 8 teams, 6 teams, and you can afford to give away players at that caliber. Because otherwise, if you're damaging your depth enough to where you're losing a starting running back and a starting receiver and only bringing back one starter, theoretically, I think it would be giving up a little bit too much in that scenario. Achane or BTJ in the flex. If it's a full PPR, it's BTJ. Otherwise, at half PPR, I'd probably go Achane. Let's see here. What does it say? Michael Wilson not listed on the injury report. Quentin Johnston and Jalen and Hayden Hurst are doubtful. Okay, so Ladd McConkey's an even better play this week. Got it. Cool. Alrighty, let's see here. Random says, is Ridley a good play now that Mayo Levis is out? I think Ridley is not a good play until they start to throw him the ball more often. A week ago this time, the head coach came out and said that we're going to get him, more opportunities. That did not proceed to happen. They came out again this week and they said they're going to give him more opportunities. I don't know if I can take the coach's word at value. Maybe the quarterback is the issue. I'd like them to prove to me that he is of value, because I don't really want to play him against that Bills secondary. Truly. Kraft or Otton this week? I have Kraft ahead of Otton. Max says start 3 in a full PPR. Cooper, Kupp, Devontae Adams, Garrett Wilson, JSN, Juju, or Deontay Johnson. Okay, so I'd like to play Kupp, Deontay Johnson, and Devontae Adams. No, scratch that. Kupp, Deontay Johnson, and Garrett Wilson. If Kupp is inactive, you play Garrett Wilson. If Deontay Johnson's inactive, then you would also play JSN there. Thank you. Bradshaw sends in a question. Thank you, Bradshaw. Says in a half PPR, Achane, Lockett, or Juju. I'll take Achane this week. Thank you. Dell or Douglas, says Marcus. I'll take Dell there. Okay. Slowly but surely we've caught up. Achane or Ramondre? I'd rather play Achane. Appreciate it. Pitts or Njoku? Pitts this week. Jacob. Pickens or Marvin Harrison? Marvin Harrison. Aaron Jones or Chubb? Aaron Jones. Pop Douglas or Josh Jacobs? Now we're starting to get a little bit twisted here, huh? I got to think about that one. If Deontay misses, play Leggett or Montgomery in a full PPR. I'd probably still play Montgomery there. Because the thing is, you won't know that Deontay Johnson is inactive until 3 hours after the Lions game has begun, because they play in the afternoon slate window. You know what I mean? Okay, let's see here. Moving on to the next question, we have Like the Jeans, who says, in a full PPR, how do we feel about Murray this week or streaming Dalton? Murray's gone, a little bit south in my rankings since Thursday, but not to the point to where I have Dalton ahead of him. If it's a 6-point per passing touchdown league, I could justify Dalton, but in a 4-point, I have to keep Murray in the lineup. Thoughts on Otton versus Ertz? Yeah, I'd prefer to play Otton. It's a better matchup, and Ertz really doesn't need to have to get much utilization in order for them to win that game. Ebbs and Flows says, greetings, Andrew. Full PPR, Sermon, Chandler, or Singletary? Sermon's the play. Thank you. Even if we're in a scenario in which Aaron Jones is out, I'm still playing Sermon over Chandler. Gucci Han Louis Han sends in a question, says, my guy, in a full PPR, I need a wide receiver with 2 between Addison and Amari Cooper. I'm playing Addison there. Thank you. Michael sends in a question, says, if Kupp is out, BTJ or Marvin Harrison? So here's the issue. BTJ plays tomorrow morning starting at 6:30 a.m. in London. Marvin Harrison plays on Monday. So you won't have a pivoting option for Kupp unless it's Marvin. So my suggestion as of right now would be to, I guess it's a matter of how risk averse you are in this scenario. Like, I prefer BTJ over Marvin Harrison, but I prefer Cup over everyone. So I'm willing to wait for Cup. If he plays in the afternoon, you start him. Otherwise, you pivot to playing Marvin on Monday night. As for your next question, Love or Purdy in a 4-point per passing touchdown league, I take Love this week. Thank you. Okay, then we move on to the LOL, who sends in a question, says, hey, Andrew, my team is Goff, Love, Gibbs, Mason, McCaffrey, Neighbors, Debo, Downs, Mooney, and Laporta. What moves do you think I should make? I'm 3-3. At this point, if it's not a 2 QB league, you need to move one of these quarterbacks. Additionally, I think you keep Gibbs, you keep Mason, McCaffrey, you keep Neighbors, you keep Debo. Mooney and Downs are just like kind of flexible options. Laporta's I don't think you move anything, actually. I mean, unless somebody's in desperate need of a quarterback, you might theoretically be able to move like a Love plus, like, I don't know, a Mooney or a Downs in order to get a better flexible option in return. I think that could be a potential route you can explore. Otherwise, I don't think you need to move anything. In Njoku or Laporta, I'd rather play Laporta this week and rest of the season. Geno or Mahomes, I have Geno ahead of Mahomes as of right now. I moved them up my rankings quite considerably since Thursday. Anvesh says, defense for this week, I've got Philly. Yeah, that's a great option. Philly, out of the ones that you just mentioned, is my highest ranked as of right now. Case for Dobbs over Juju. Yeah, again, if you're playing in a half PPR, I could justify it. Otherwise, no. Matt sends in a question, says Daniels and Mooney for Reed and Murray. Full PPR. I'd be willing to make that move. That's fine by me. Understand that you are taking a pretty huge discount at quarterback, but you are getting a huge upgrade at wide receiver. So you just have to hope that Murray can kind of pull his weight rest of the season. Ingram or Wan'Dale Robinson? I'd rather play Ingram. Let's see here. Gog says in a full PPR, 2 flex, Dell, Brian Thomas, Harris, Tracy, Chubb. Okay, so if we're playing 2, it's Dell and Brian Thomas Jr. Like pretty simply, yeah. And in rest of season, I'd rather have Ferguson than Kraft. Thank you. Alrighty. Slowly but surely, we've taken care of everything. All right, really quickly, what I want to do is I want to go ahead and do this, and then I also want to take care of, wait a minute. So we need to do this, and we need to go here. Okay, so what I want to do, like we do every single Saturday, is I want to put together a pick'em slip via Underdog based on your guys' suggestions, because even though it doesn't hit every week, sometimes you guys have some pretty good suggestions. So let's go for it. What suggestions do we have for this week? I know somebody had mentioned, Saquon earlier, but just give me some plays and let me see what you guys have for this weekend. Gabos React says, Josh Downs or Amari Cooper in a full PPR. Who do you trust? I'd probably rather play Josh Downs this week. Thank you. So look, for sure what I'm doing for a majority of plays is like I'm probably just going to take higher on this receiving yard and then just put anything on top of it at this point. Ricky Pearsall or Rachaad White? Batcher, I'm playing Rachaad White there. Alex says Tank, Mason, or Chase Brown. I'm playing Chase Brown there. Aaron says Jaden Daniels and Addison for Stroud and Jacobs. I'm okay with that. That's fine by me. Yeah, if you need the running back depth, I think that's great. Pollard over half a touchdown. That one's a little sketchy, though. You think they're going to score a touchdown? Jeez, I don't even know if they'll score a touchdown this week as an offense. That's the sketchy part. I'm actually curious. Do they even have Pollard numbers available? Pollard is not available. So I'm assuming they removed the Titans. So yeah, they haven't put any of the offensive pieces back up because of the quarterback change. So we'll wait on that and see what happens. Hey, Andrew, quarterback streamer, Anthony Richardson, Aaron Jones. Sorry, not Aaron Jones. Daniel Jones or Aaron Rodgers. I'll play Aaron Rodgers there. Abdi sends in a question, says Rodgers or May. I'd rather play Rodgers. Also traded Puka for Christian McCaffrey. I own Mason. Great. That sounds good. That's a fantastic trade. Also, my wide receivers are Moore, Marvin Harris. Yeah, good to go. Well done, Abdi. Well done. Tank Dell over on yards. Okay, let's see here. Dell. Receiving yards. I'm cool with that. That's fine by me. What else do we have? Drake May touchdown. Drake May touchdown. Why is it just like one touchdown? May? Oh, that's it? Oh, it's a 0.69, but okay, we'll take it. That's fine by me. I don't have an issue with that. Not bad, not bad. Let's see. Damn, it's at a 0.69. They don't think he'll throw one touchdown? How stupid are they? Why wouldn't you take higher on that? That is ridiculous. Kyron touchdown seems automatic. It definitely is automatic. Okay, so we put Kyron in there. There it is. So we've already got We got 4 legs already. Somewhat. Actually, you know, we could remove the Mario Douglas if you guys bring in other suggestions. Let's see here. PPR flex 1 Wando Robinson or Trey Sermon. In a PPR, I'm playing Wando Robinson there. They have Rudolph going. Maybe he scores. Yeah, maybe. I mean, it's possible. But again, Buffalo, man. Oof. Buffalo's pass defense is going to definitely stop them in many of scenarios. But yeah, once Pollard shows back up, then we can probably throw it into a slip. CHVW says, is Cup playing or not? I'll give him a call right now. Give me a moment. I'm going to call his agent. We'll see what he says. Chase Brown or BTJ this week in a full PPR? That is probably a BTJ play. Richardson over on fantasy score or rush yards? Richardson, oh, really? So his fantasy score is what? 19 point... Bruh. Wait, hello? That seems a bit overtuned. 19? Yo, am I under-ranking Richardson? Or this, I mean, like, what is going on? 19? I'd rather take the lower on that, to be honest. Noah Curtis sends in a question, says, pick 3.5 PPR, 14-man, Mason, Najee, Addison, or Sermon. If I'm picking 3, it's Najee number 1, Addison 2, and Mason number 3. Thank you. Godwin receiving yards higher. Okay, let me see here. We'll remove DeMario Douglas just because I've already got him in another play. Let's see what Godwin's at. Godwin's 74.5. I don't know if I particularly love that. I don't actually know if I love 74.5. Let me see here. Chris Godwin. Yeah, I don't love it. I don't love the number. Let's see here. Chase Brown for worthy in a half PPR. I'd rather have Chase Brown. Craze. Chase Brown is like a rest of the season, like top 15 running back. Not going to lie, I thought the line was 16.5. My bad. No, you're good. I'm just surprised. Devontae Smith over target. Wait, does he have a target count? Wait. If that's actually the case, I'm putting $100 on it. Jeez Louise. Okay. Not bad. 100. Wait. Maybe not 100. Maybe 50 for 258. I think that's a little bit better. Do I have a profit boost? Boost on any endgame entry. Okay, yeah, maybe we'll wait on the profit boost. Okay, so right now, as of right now, 50, not bad. Okay, not bad. Let me just move it back. Anything else? Maybe we make a 5-leg juicer here. Maybe I just throw in like Derrick Henry and just say I'm going for all the guarantees. So that'll be 50 for 393. I mean, I don't actually think this. You know what's actually going to clip me? It's probably this. This probably kills me. If I had to guess. Malik receptions. Yeah, I have one with Malik receptions earlier. Reed with... is Reed still at 4.5 receptions? Let's see. Yeah, he still is. What's more of a guarantee? Jaden Reed going higher on receptions? Or, I mean... Or literally Derrick Henry scoring a touchdown. Or Kyron Williams scoring a touchdown. Or Drake May scoring a touchdown. Like, in terms of the multi, these multis are not great for me. So the overall upside isn't as high. So like maybe I get rid of Kyron here. And then I just... So then it would be 50 for 450 in this scenario instead of 50 for 390. So I've just made an extra $60 theoretically if this hits off of 5 legs. Man, I don't know. Tank Dell scares me. I'm supposed to be the expert here. Hold up. Let me go look at my... Where's Tank Dell here? Hold up. Everybody stay calm. Where is Tank Dell? Control F, Tank. Where's my stats from this week on him? Okay, so he's played 6 games without Nico Collins. He averages... Okay. He's put up over 4... Okay, yep, with good... Okay, so maybe it's not Tank Dell on... Yeah, you know what? It probably is taking him on yards. It's either that or we take him higher on fantasy points, which is at 11. I think it might just be the 11 Hmm. Now I'm starting to second guess myself here. Brian Robinson touchdown is even if he doesn't play, I think it's fine. 0.92. That's not bad. Okay, so if I throw a 0.92 into this, what does it make it? Okay, so it doesn't really give me that much upside. I don't really like to play 6. So considering my worry regarding Tank Dell, this is probably it. Brian Robinson anytime touchdown. Jaden Reed higher than 4 receptions. Oh god, Jaden Reed's gonna kill me. Mixon Tutty, Chase Brown, Montgomery anytime. There's a lot of anytime tutties that we could literally throw together. I'm just trying to think like okay, so I might want to diversify a little bit. So instead of rolling with Henry in that scenario, we go and we take, I don't know what, Mixon Tutty is just 1.06. So what is the outpay on that? I mean, it's still not great. 550 for 578, so it's like a 10x for 5 legs. This is a guarantee. This is a guarantee. Mixon is the issue now, and so is Reed. I don't know if I love Reed in that scenario. Let me see here. I'm actually curious. I'm going to go look up how well the Houston Texans play against slot receiving corners really quickly. After I figure out that number, then I can feel a little bit more confident, perhaps just roll with this. 1 second. So let's go to Houston. Curious. Okay, so slot receivers against them. Demario Douglas last week, 6 for 92 and a touchdown. The week prior, we had Curtis Samuel with 1 catch for 0 yards. Then Christian Kirk, 7 for 61. Then the week prior, we had, okay, all right, you know what? Actually, so far, okay, you know what? That's fine. That's cool. All right, I'll take this. Mixon, man. I don't know, guys. Is Mixon really going to score? That's, oof. Oh, God, that hurts. Okay, 1 second. I'm going to continue to answer a couple more questions that were sent in, and then we'll get back to answer, or we'll get back to finishing this up. Michael H sends in a question, says Walker, Dobbins, Kupp, Deontay Johnson, Amari Cooper, McConkey, or Chubb. Okay, so of the available, Kenneth Walker has to play if he's available. I think Dobbins is probably your number. Okay, so there's multiple ways you can go about this. But Michael H, if Walker and Dobbins are both available, they are your 2 starters. If Walker doesn't play tomorrow somehow, some way, you would pivot to either playing Kupp number 1 or Deontay Johnson number 2. Thank you. Like the Jeans sends in the final question of probably today, and then we'll go ahead and finish out this entry, and then we're out. Like the Gene says, someone wants to move Ferguson for a decent wide receiver 2 and a running back. I have McBride, already, and Pickens, Wanda Robinson, Tolbert, Douglas, Pearsall, Chubb to offer. Thoughts? You have McBride. You don't need Ferguson. Again, I don't think you need to be making an offer for that in exchange. If they want Tolbert, you can give it to them. Otherwise, you keep as is, like the Jeans. Thank you. All right. That's basically it. Max Verstappen. Who the heck is Max Verstappen? Is that a car driver? We have Max Crosby. Let's see your Max. I don't know what that is. Okay. I was like, yo, what the heck is that? All right. So, Drake May anytime passing touchdown. Pretty simple. Devontae Smith higher on targets. Very simple. Jaden Reed higher on receptions. Very simple. Brian Robinson anytime touchdown. Very simple. These are 4 plays that would haul back $50 turning to $272. Just need one more. I don't want to get cute with it. I don't. And that is my concern. So what I probably do is I just take Derrick Henry and I just make it a 50 for 414 play. That's probably what I do. Just to be safe. I don't care for the extra like $60 I can make, because the stress that it will impact on my life, it will actually kill me. Don't do B-Rob. Save your money, bro. Why would I? Look. Understand really quickly. Brian Robinson, if he plays tomorrow, he has vulture protection. So if Jaden Daniels scores any touchdown in that game on the ground, Addison over 6 target. Wait a minute. 7 target in that game? I mean, dude, there's so many actual... Oh, my God. There's so many plays to make. Look, Brian Robinson's safe, mainly because they play Carolina, Okay. And additionally, he has vulture protection. So if Jaden Daniels steals a rushing touchdown on the goal line, it's done. If he doesn't play, it doesn't matter. He doesn't get affected against my slip. It'll just make it a 4-leg instead of a 5. I'll get the money anyway. What else do we have here? Marvin Harrison anytime touchdown is free. No, it's not free. No, son. Don't act like that's free. It's not a lock. It's not. Michael H sent in a follow-up. I don't see where your question is, Michael H. Did you have a follow-up or was it to the first one? Look at Atlanta, Seattle. Diego Gutierrez says Demario Douglas or Brian Thomas. I'd rather play Brian Thomas. Look at Atlanta versus Seattle. For what? For what are we talking about? Like, what play are we specifically looking for? I gotta scroll a long ways, huh? I mean, the rushing yards here is probably what I would take. The rushing yards here or the receiving yards here. That's what I would do. Because these are the two. I mean, this number is a little bit too sharp in my opinion. I don't love that. Does he have targets? It's probably, 10.5. I don't like that either. That's not fun. What is his target number? First quarter receiving yards. Is there one for DK Metcalf? 8.5. Look, guys, I'm a first quarter receiving yard fiend. Take a slip with 8.5. I'm gonna do this after the fact. Actually, hold up. Okay, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna stop fumbling. I'm just taking these 4 legs. That's it. We'll just take these 4. 50 for 414. What does it say? You've hit your $500 limit on Devontae Smith. I've hit my limit on a specific player. Wait, there's a limit? Wait, what? I didn't know there was a limit on how much money you can put on a specific player. Yo, I'm a degenerate. Oh my God, that's disgusting. Okay. It's fine. It's only because of the $500 player I put in yesterday. I didn't know there was a $500 limit per player. They just don't want me to abuse the fact that I know more than the book. Okay, so in that case, 4 plays for 206 to 4x. I mean, I don't mind it. It's all, let's just take this. Let's not mess around. I don't want to waste any more time. All right, so these are the 4. Drake May, anytime touchdown. Jaden Reed, higher on receptions. Anytime touchdown, anytime touchdown. Cool. All right, so 8.5 receiving. Is there one? Actually, you know what? What I'll probably do. So if you type in 1Q REC, right? These are the numbers I go after and I pick apart every week, and I win way too much than I probably should because of these. So I'm gonna do research on these. I'll be back tomorrow with more of a display as to what I want to do with these. But this is my favorite already because I know that he's surpassed this in the vast majority of the last couple games that he's played. So this is the direction we'd go in. Either way. All right. So again, in terms of plays for this weekend, if I go to live, if I go to Pick'em and I open these up, right? So again, these are the couple plays we're making this weekend. So this is why I have a $500 limit on Amon-Ra, because I've already put, on Devontae Smith, is because I've already put this here. So Kyren Williams anytime touchdown, Devontae Smith receiving yards, Amon-Ra receiving yards, Kelsey receiving yards, Henry touchdown, H.N. rushing yards, Neighbors on receptions, Eckler on fantasy points, and then touchdown. Yeah, and we all see it. Okay. I appreciate y'all. Thank you. I'll be back tomorrow starting at 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Hopefully all these picks hit. We've been pretty accurate as of late. Last weekend, in terms of, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. We were 12 of 14 on suggestions. 12 of 14 last weekend is an 86% accuracy rate. Pretty good. So hopefully we'll be somewhere close to that. Hopefully. Goodness gracious. Either way. Thank you guys. I'm cueing the music. Have a great rest of your Saturday. And until tomorrow morning, I'll see you guys. Peace. I made a mistake. Wait a minute. Everybody stay calm. We had 2 questions just come in the final seconds. Okay, so Michael H., I want to see if you sent in anything else. I've already turned off the camera, so I'm not coming back on screen. I'm just going to answer it as is. Okay, so Michael H., we answered that original question. Did you have any other ones? Nope. Okay, we're good to go. Giovanna Thomas says, in a PPR, Pickens, JSN, Watson, or Warren? I'm playing JSN out of that group. Thank you. Jace sends in a question, says, Chubb or Chase Brown in the flex? I'm playing Chase Brown. Thank you, and have a great rest of your day, guys. Peace.